Down to business. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Yes, the Queen is relaxing. We're going to chop up this information. We're going to talk about Court TV's interview, Vinnie Politan with Seth, and also the other information from the TikToker. It's a lot to chop up. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $sign the Angie 129 Cash App, stickers and chats. I always welcome during the live stream. Let's get down to business, everybody.
I want you to listen one more time to the Chief Deputy from the Summit County Sheriff's Office, again, describing the status of this investigation, this search for a missing child.
There is no evidence to support foul play is involved in the disappearance of Sebastian.
But at this point, you don't rule it out.
We're not ruling anything out.
Not ruling anything out. Why? Because they don't know what happened here. They don't know. I want to bring in our special guest right off the top, Sebastian's dad, Seth Rogers, joining us tonight from Clarksville, Tennessee. Seth, thank you so much for joining us. I know this isn't easy. A lot of people are asking you for your time, so we do appreciate it. How are you doing? How are you holding up? Your feet.
Looking for my son.
Your feet just froze up for a second. I'm so sorry, Seth. So we didn't hear. How are you holding up tonight?
I'm just looking for my son. There is no holding up. It's just moving forward. Move forward to the next location. Move forward to the next. Anything that I get, any type of lead, any type of anything. I mean, it's just every day holding on to hope.
What are your thoughts about the investigation and the status of the law enforcement investigation into the search for your son, where they're not ruling anything out, no evidence of foul play? Do you think that they have found anything so far in more than a month?
I'm not part of the investigation, and they don't have to let me know anything, which they don't let me know anything.
Fair enough. Not letting you know anything is one part. The other part is you're his dad, right? So has that communication been enough to have you feel like, okay, I know and I trust that they're working this thing?
I'm in law enforcement myself, so I've got to trust the procedure. I gotta trust that if everything is followed by the procedure and everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, that there will be a positive outcome and my son will be found. I don't understand. They haven't came up with anything. Why they're not asking for higher powers to help.
From where, I want to go back to when you first found out, and then this part isn't clear.
I'm going to intervene throughout the live, so because it's going to be hard to try to keep up with everything. Plus, like I'm trying to remember everything verbatim from the TikTok interview. He wants to know why nothing's been done or don't have the information. Rather, naturally, they're not going to tell you everything. They probably do know more, but they're not saying. As far as TBI, CIA, I explained to you why CIA is involved, because they work with the Missing and Exploited Kids Network, and they have been partnered with them for a few years now, several years now. Okay, so as far as TBI, FBI, the only way they get involved is if local authorities ask for their help. And usually you see this, the two times you'll see FBI or the local Bureau of Investigations getting involved is in one, they have been asked, or and asked for different reasons. One reason could be they don't have the staff, such as like a rural place where there's a small population of people. I could see the local sheriff wanting to ask for outside help, state agencies, the FBI, so on and so forth, and or not asking for help because you want all the credit. So we ask that here. Are they not wanting to give it over to them, TBI, because they want to be the lead? They want the recognition in case the child is found, either deceased or alive, or they feel like they're not at that stage where they need the help from TBI. Which is it? But you have to be asked for the help for them to intervene. So I'm assuming they ask them for help. So what's the truth? Please take the polls during this live stream. Thank you for joining me. And then we're going to ask that question. Are the authorities doing enough? Because when you listen to the other interview, he states there are things that he noticed they didn't do at the house, at the Proudfoot's house. So you have to ask that question. Did you all do any forensics? Besides taking people's telephones, did you go in the room where the boy slept? Did you check everything in the room, okay? Did you check everything in his room? Bathtubs, toilets, drains, just look through something to see if you see anything suspicious. Also, the washing machine. That's something you don't hear a lot about. Did you check the washing machines? Because I was wondering that. See if they were clothes soaking. See if somebody injured themselves. Somebody was trying to wash out something. You have to ask all those questions, okay? Hello, honey. Thank you.
My head. Where were you when you found out that Sebastian was missing? And who called you? What was that conversation like? And then sort of what happened next there?
Made it out to the parking garage. When I got in my vehicle, I saw I had a missed call and a text message from Christopher Proudfoot. Text message was a 911, so I called immediately, and he's the one that told me that Sebastian was missing.
And how much detail did he give you about what happened, and how would you describe that moment, that call?
Wasn't much detail except for Sebastian. He said Katie woke up, Sebastian's missing. So I left the parking garage and headed straight to her house.
And how far are you from the house?
About 45 minutes from downtown Correction Center to their house in Henderson, Sumner County.
I'm going to interject here. Something I find very odd in this conversation here, and I compare it to Summer Wells, and many of you probably know where I'm going with this conversation. Don't you find it strange or ironic that both cases are eerily similar as far as a child missing and last seen in the care with the mother, but yet the 911 call is not made by the mother. It's made by a father, Summer Wells, stepfather, Sebastian Rogers. Do you see the correlation? I'm taking care of the child. I'm the female. The child is last seen with me allegedly. But when it's time for a 911 call to go into the dispatch, it's the father, the male, doing the calling. Do you see the correlation? Don Wells was away from the house, working allegedly. And to this day, we have not had a verification of where he was that whole day. If he was actually in Jonesboro working. I mean, if you're working at an independent home, where would your proof be? It'd have to be a doorbell camera. It'd have to be somebody who has a camera to say, yeah, that truck sat there. We watched him walk in. Here's a video. He stayed there for this many hours, then he walked back out at this time. See where I'm going? We have not had that yet. Now, fast forward years later over here, West Tennessee, a stepfather is all the way out of town allegedly in Memphis or the Memphis, Tennessee area. A child goes missing in Hendersonville, Tennessee with the mother allegedly in his room allegedly, walked out allegedly, don't know allegedly. She calls to say the child is missing, but he's calling, and then his mangy ass excuses, oh, when you call, you don't directly get the sheriff because you got to reroute it to Pookie, Ray, Bubba. You mean to tell me this woman's been living all the time in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and she doesn't know how the phone system works in their jurisdiction? Because if Chris knows this, she should know this. Just stay in tune to what is going on. Both cases are eerily similar when it comes to reporting the child missing. The child is last seen with a female, but it's the male who does the calling to the 911 dispatch to say the child is missing. You can't ignore that because there's something off with that, okay? Thank you. And the football player that I mentioned in my commentary days ago, Mr. Rashi, who turned himself in down in Florida for, was it Florida? I think I'm getting it mixed up. Not Florida, but anyway, I'll bring it up to the car crash of him and the other driver. He has acknowledged that he was in that wreck. So I'll try to bring you that here shortly during this live stream. Thank you.
Okay, so now you respond. You're on that 45-minute ride there. Are you talking to anyone, or are you just pedal to the metal trying to get there?
No, I'm trying not to get a speeding ticket.
I get that, but I mean, are you just focused on getting there, or are you calling his mom to get more details?
No, I'm
it's something
just focusing on traffic to get there as fast as possible.
So now when you got there, what happened at that moment? Like, did you have a conversation with his mom, and did you try to find out, like, well, what the situation was here?
When I got there, there was already law enforcement presence there. So I walked in and just started listening to what was going on. I wanted to hear what was going on. So I got to hear her telling law enforcement asking questions, me listening to the questions and listening to the responses from his mother.
And what did you form any opinion based upon what you were hearing?
Rhino. Brief intermission. There are so many things that you're going to hear or have heard in these interviews that he didn't ask Katie and Chris, and I want to know why. Such as, can I search the rooms? Can I look at this, this, and this? Check the washing machine. You need to look at all those things. This is how you get down to the bottom of things. The pajamas. Let me see the pajamas he wore. Oh, he don't got them? Okay, let me see the clothes he wore to dinner. You'll hear all that in the next interview. We'll talk about that next interview. I would have asked to see the clothes he wore out that day. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I formed an opinion. I am only human.
Let's go back to that.
So I got to hear her telling law enforcement asking questions, me listening to the questions and listening to the responses from his mother.
And
did he believe the responses? Because what you're hearing here and what you heard from other interviews, if you've paid attention to his commentary, they are nowhere near the conversation he gave that TikToker. He was more boisterous, more animating his conversations. And I'd like to know why. I'd like to know. I don't know if it's just he's fed up because he's not talking to the parents or they're not talking to him. He's realizing something is off. And I'd like to know, Seth, why didn't you tell the public day one of your inner feelings? So you're now telling Vinny you thought of some things while watching everything unfold when you first got to the house. I'd like to know, one, did you tell Katie and Chris that you felt like something wasn't right? Did you tell them how you felt about their child rearing? What you maybe heard from the son? Because now we're hearing all these allegations come out pertaining to who did what, who said what, who took whom to court. It's all crazy. It's all crazy. And you're entitled to believe whatever you want pertaining to whom did what and who didn't do what. But I think I would have told the news in the beginning. Because see, when people start digging for stuff, as they call it, the internet sleuths, once that stuff gets thrown out, then the news people get wind of it. They'll decide if they want to mention it in the broadcast, which now news broadcasts are starting to mention gossip and the internet rhetoric. Then you start to question why a person didn't tell this in the beginning. Why didn't you say in the beginning? We've had issues with CPS allegations. I'm going to go ahead and put it out there, but they didn't find anything against me, blah, blah, blah. We moved on. I would tell all that in the beginning. I also like to know, did he ever tell these things to law enforcement in the beginning? Did law enforcement ask him about CPS, any allegations of abuse, domestic abuse? If they asked, did he tell the truth then? Because let me tell you what people are going to start thinking. One, you never told anybody about this until here recently, almost 6 weeks into the child missing. You've never told the news. Why are you telling YouTubers and TikTokers this personal stuff? Because this is personal. And you've heard one of the news broadcasts, I can't remember if it was News Nation or whoever I was listening to, the one question they said is, if you have pertinent information pertaining to a crime, a child, a missing person, whatever it is, why are you talking about it on YouTube? And that's a damn good question. It's your choice to come up here on this platform and talk to any of us. Whether you are involved in the story, you're a parent, you're an outsider, you think you got information, but you should go to the police first. And I like to know, with what was said to that TikToker, did he tell all of that to law enforcement, TBI? Hey, let me spin you the story of what my life has been like. Dealing with her, married to her, her husband, this person, that person. Because let me tell you, if he never said any of the things he's just told, law enforcement's going to be, they're going to be a little bit upset. Because they're going to say, well, what we don't understand is you're not telling us this stuff. You didn't tell the news this stuff, but you're telling random TikTokers, social media people. Why? Because I got to ask myself, we're almost 6 weeks into this child missing. It is now Thursday. We're going into the weekend. Why in God's name would you go in the belly of the beast to a TikToker? And naturally, some are going to believe what he had to say. Some won't. Nina, same thing. You're entitled to believe whatever you want. But you got to ask yourself, did this man tell law enforcement these things in the beginning? Because if I was a detective, I'm going to ask you, why are you telling this stuff on social media? Why didn't you tell us this in the beginning? You had these type of problems. You've been accused of this, this, and this. The CPS dropped the case, blah, 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 closed the case. You should have told us these things. And this would help with the investigation because they need somewhere to go. Because so far, no foul play, but not saying foul play didn't happen. But we just don't have anything to say it's foul play. I also asked you all the questions about the glasses found, which we now know is not relevant to the case. Were they planted? 48% of you said not sure. 32% of you said no. 20% of you said yes. I wondered about that as well. Finding the glasses, what shape were they in? Were they new? Were they actual prescriptions? Were they reading glasses? And exactly where were they found? One of his little crew found them. I'm just very leery about people immersing themselves in a case. Whether they're searching, giving information, that's just quaint. I'm always leery of everybody because I've seen what people do that get involved. And you're also going to hear that as well. The police there do not want random people searching where they're searching. And that's understandable. So you don't trample on anything, evidentiary material. And once again, you don't know if a person will plant something because people are wicked. And we see this now with true crime. There are a lot of people who are not in this for the right reasons.
What did you form any opinion based upon what you were hearing?
Knew my son was missing, and I just started watching body language, listening to the words coming out. Did I form an opinion? Yeah, I formed an opinion. I am only human.
And what was that opinion?
That again, once again, my son, something has happened to my son under her watch.
Finally.
And what
He finally says it in this interview, that something happened under her watch. But the one thing he doesn't say, I think she did something or Chris did something, but something happened on her watch. Well, we already know something happened on her watch. The problem is what happened on her watch.
again, she wasn't being an adult. She wasn't being a parent taking care of an autistic child.
This right here is bothersome to me. See, when he talks to the professionals, it's not to disrespect anybody, but when he talks to the professionals, he doesn't say everything. He doesn't come out and just say what he should say or what he really feels. But that's what I'm saying. It's just strange to me. But then you go right to the TikToker. It's the same time frame, and you say a whole lot more. Why? I don't get it. And I hear you all saying he's frustrated. You can't be no more frustrated than when you talk to Vinny versus the TikToker. The only thing they don't want you to do is cursing. Good Morning America, Court TV. You see where I'm going? So with a TikToker, YouTuber, you can say, fuck, damn, motherfucker. You see where I'm going? But the point is, people are going to weigh all that. I don't care how you weigh this. Somebody who's paying attention is going to still weigh. Okay, you're going from one platform to the other. You're telling a little bit of this, but you're not really telling how you really feel. But then you go over here to the TikToker. It's the same time frame. It's the same time frame. Same time frame. Why are you giving more to a TikToker? I'm curious. Why not tell Vinny Politan the same damn thing you told a TikToker? This is what I feel about this. This is what happened when da-da-da-da-da. Tell Vinny, hey, we might need to run longer than the 40-something minutes. I got a lot I got to tell you, and I want to get it out and be done with it. That's what I want to do. Hey, Vinny, need a longer time slot. I got a lot I want to tell you. I want to tell you about my life with this lady. I want to tell you the allegations that were against me. I want to tell you the allegations that were against my son. Be done with it. Because a lot of people are still going to question, why are you picking and choosing who to tell what to? That's odd to me still. I don't get it. Because this is the same time frame, Vinny and that TikToker. They're what? Probably not even a day apart. So I'm confused. I've listened to all this stuff today, and I'm still just baffled. And all the stuff he said to the TikToker, I watched all that before going live. It's fucked up. It's all fucked up. And I think I would tell the news people. Now, maybe he didn't want to be putting all his business out day one. But now we're a month in. I would put it all out and be done with it. I would tell how I feel. Because right here, he's still not saying anything. You're saying, I want her to be an adult, or, oh no, she wasn't an adult. So now we're going to say, well, why would you say that? So what is it that she's not doing that you think led up to the child disappearing? See what I'm saying? You're leaving it open-ended. So I wish he would have said to Vinny, this is what I've seen, heard. He only ties in what he's heard from the podcasters, the Proudfoot's conversation. But he still doesn't go in detail. What is it that they said that makes you feel like she wasn't watching the kid, the child was being abused, they didn't care for the child? Because the few things that I've heard them say wouldn't directly make me think they didn't care for him. I only think they don't care for him because they're not searching. That's what leads me to that conclusion. You're not searching. You always got to look at Chris to spin the story about the niece and all that and dinner, and then you disappear. So that I, as an outsider, I will form that opinion. Okay, they don't seem like they care. But I didn't understand where he was coming from when he said, well, just certain stuff they said on the podcast made me feel like, what? The little boy was being mistreated. I wish he would give an example to say, I think this about this, what they said about this. That way we understand what it is he's referring to. I don't know what the hell is going on. But I know the allegations that I've heard about him and the issues he had with Katie is really fucked up. And as that young man said, a lot of it is similar to what Nina was saying about Chris. So what I'm seeing in this whole debacle is sadists attracting sadists, wickedness attracting wickedness. You entitled to believe whatever you want. But I said this earlier. If you believe some of the things you heard by Nina, okay? No different than any other allegations about anybody out here that's in the breaking news. Imagine what you don't know. And I keep saying that. If you believe what people are putting out about a person, now imagine what you don't know, because really you don't know if that's true what you're hearing, okay? Imagine the other dirty deeds that are going on and they haven't gotten out.
So,
Lord mercy.
as you're listening and watching her, now she was home. It was just Sebastian and his mom that were home at that time.
When I got, yes, because when I got there, it was just Katie, and I think Chris's mom was there, but it was just, when the incident happened, it was just Katie and Sebastian at the house, from my understanding.
Now, I've got to imagine your mind is racing at the time you're hearing all this information. So as you're hearing the information from Katie, and from what you're telling me, it seems like you're a little upset in how things were handled. So what happened next? Where did you go? Where did she go? What did police do at that time? Because this is very early on, right? This is the morning of.
They started asking me questions on where I'd been. I told them I'd been at work since, I've been clocked in since before 7, but I'd been at work in the parking garage since about 6 o'clock the night before. And I told them they can call and verify where I've been at. And I just sat there and started listening, just listening to everything that was being said.
Now, did you have any reason to believe that there were any problems in that home?
Katie was pretty adamant about having a good weekend, which meant my son wasn't misbehaving in her point of view.
Once again, Vinny is asking him about problems in the home. It doesn't mean necessarily problems that weekend, Mr. Seth. That question to me means all over. All the time. Were there problems in the house with the parents and the child? Period. Not just that weekend. Because we already know he's 15 years of age. He's not a newborn. So one's going to say, if these people unalive the child, okay, there were problems beforehand. I don't think they told him the truth. Because who's going to tell somebody they're tired of rearing the kid, they don't want to be bothered? Some people will say it. I don't think they told the truth to him about how they feel about the kid. But like I said, he obviously knows something just from the stuff we heard with the TikToker. Or did he not? You're entitled to your opinion. Because this is all over the place. Did he get a feeling that the child was not happy with the Proudfoots? If you believe that, then say it. I don't believe my child was happy with these people. My child told me this, and this. They told me this, and this. Because you're going to hear that later too. Allegations from the Chris saying something to his mother about the child being a pedophile. See, seemed like to me, if you could tell all this to a TikToker 5 weeks in, 6 weeks in almost, you had to have that feeling when you went to the house and realized your child was gone. Seemed like to me, all that would come flooding in your head. Conversations you've had with Chris and Katie, conversations you've had with your mother, conversations you've had with the child. You can't tell me he was not thinking those things. And wondering, all these conversations, his life with Katie and the child and the court system, you mean to tell me he didn't think about none of that when he went to the house? The morning the son was allegedly missing. He had to have been thinking about all that stuff.
So I'm trying to read between the lines here. Do you believe that she doesn't exercise enough patience with Sebastian, and that causes some problems in the home, or she doesn't approach her responsibilities as a parent appropriately? Like there's something wrong
Autistic
there?
children take a different. Well, autistic children take. It's a different aspect when you're a parent of an autistic child. You don't really get much freedom because you have to set a routine and you have to go abide by it. And when she's sitting there telling me she went into bed at 9 o'clock the night before or 9:30 the night before, and that she heard him in there and told him to go to bed and things like that, it's like there's not much of a routine. And when there's no routine, then autistic children don't act the same way they're supposed to. When I've had him, there's a routine in my house when I have him. And he's a teenager. You're gonna listen, you're gonna hear some back talk probably. I mean, they're growing. They're going to rebel some way. They're teenagers.
So, what is he trying to tell us here? Because the child went to bed at a certain time, allegedly. He's not on a routine. So I'm trying to understand where he's coming from. If he's with you, then he's not in school. So he could stay up later, like on a weekend or whatever. I don't know. Did he put him to bed at a certain time, even on a weekend? I don't know, because he's not telling us. So I'm trying to understand where is he coming from as far as his routine. What routine? Did he feel like, because she made a comment in another interview about hearing noises in the room and told him, well, I don't care what you're doing, go to bed, which that didn't make any sense either, because somebody to me, you would care if he's up because he needs adequate sleep. I've done a little research about that with autistic children. They need adequate sleep more than what you think. Children in general need, smaller children, they say 10 to 12 hours. Of course, he's not a smaller child anymore, but you got to ask all those questions. How was he getting up in the morning? Was he cranky? Did he go straight in to brush teeth? Did he take showers at night? What was his bedtime? See, you got to ask all those questions. We don't know. And if you think you're going to get the truth from the Proudfoots, you're talking to yourself, because they're not about to tell us nothing. So I'd like to know what he meant by this. The child needs to be on a routine. So he felt like what? The boy wasn't on a routine. So what is it that makes you think that he wasn't on a routine? Because you wouldn't have thought that, I guess, until she changed the version about hearing a noise in there at 10 something and telling him he better go to bed. I don't understand nothing about none of this shit. I just don't. I've been live 34 minutes, sweetheart. Did the sheriff check the house thoroughly, forensically? 17% of you said yes, 48% of you said no, 34% of you are not sure, 29 votes.
So you're going to listen to it. You're going to have to deal with it. But you still got to remember that you're a parent. And
oh, Joy, I'm sorry to hear that.
you have to adjust your lifestyle to be able to make sure that they can adjust and learn and still grow. You can't do some of the things that I've seen her do in the past.
So the custody arrangement, it seems you both have custody and he'll spend time with you as well as with his mom. Were there any indication in your communications with Katie that like she didn't want custody, that she didn't want that responsibility, and if there were problems and she was running into some rough waters? Anything like that?
Most of my discussions were actually taken care with Chris. And Sebastian was supposed to come live with me. Chris was working.
Look at Vinny. Why was the child supposed to go live with the father? I'm curious. And you're going to hear him talk about Chris trying to get, I guess, Katie on board or something. So that they all sit and talk formally about the child going with Seth. Because I'm confused too. When did they talk about him going? There's something off. Because he speaks of, in another interview, of enrolling the child in school, getting him ready for school. But I'm thinking, how can you enroll a child in school if they're still in another school? That don't make any sense to me. I don't think a school would allow that. I don't think a school would allow you to formally enroll them in another school if they're still in a school district. I don't know if school districts would do that. Because you got to be able to transfer their records so they can see where they are intellectually and scholastically. That's usually how that works. When you go to one school, you leave a school to go to another school, your records have to be transferred. You either have them sent, fax, or you take them. How would the other school know where to put him in a grade? This doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't understand what Seth's talking about here. I'm not trying to be rude, but there's just a lot of stuff that don't make no sense. And we've seen this with him talking. He has talked around the subject. I don't know if it's because he just didn't want to say how he really felt about these people. He didn't want to come out and tell the truth about what really happened in his marriage to Katie and his dealings with them. But something about this conversation doesn't make any sense. The school situation don't make any sense. Enrolling him in the school in his district and his kid's still in school. Vinny asking him about any problems at the house. He's only talking about that weekend. Well, she wanted it perfect, blah, blah, blah. Basically saying, I guess, he has been a problem. And that's what Vinny wants to know. Were there problems in the house? Not just the weekend, but overall. This is strange to me.
On Katie, on getting her to agree to it. And all I wanted was my son to come live with me. I've already got him enrolled in school. I've had him enrolled in school. I gotta find him.
This is bizarre. This is the most bizarre situation. Sorry about this with these people. There's something's not right.
I want to put something up on the screen here. This is from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. They made a Facebook.
Doesn't make any sense.
Important announcement. Attention, everyone. We want to clarify that the eyeglasses recently found are not related to Sebastian Rogers. The search operation planned for today, which is like today, has been in the works for several days. We appreciate your cooperation and understanding. My understanding is that you and your team are the ones that found these glasses.
One of my teams. I have a group of volunteers that changes pretty much throughout the day, throughout the week. So whoever's off work that wants to come to help, they come to help. Then I separate everybody in teams and I ask them to go flyer this area or flyer that area. And one of my volunteer groups found glasses.
Oh, I know it's for next year, everybody. Please, Queen's on board. But what I'm saying is, how are you going to put somebody in another school when you don't have the records? He has to finish this year out. I don't understand how you can put a child in another district. It doesn't work like that here where I live. I'm in Tennessee, but I'm not in their part of Tennessee. But I'm thinking most districts are the same. One, you cannot be rolled in two districts at the same time. It doesn't work like that. And frankly, they don't want you living over here and then you putting your kid in a whole nother district. God forbid they find out. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's even in the same city limits. We're not talking about out of town. We're talking about in the city. You live over in this side of town. Let's say you're on the east side of Knoxville. Your child is supposed to be enrolled in the school district near your house. Not across town, not over in Blount County, Anderson County, Roane County. Your child is supposed to be in the school district near your house. You get a school where your child is. That should go on everywhere in the United States. All I'm saying is I don't understand how he's saying he already enrolled him in another school. You can't enroll him in another school because he's already in another school. And he's not completed this, semester at where he is, Hendersonville. You have to be able to take your records. I can't believe I'm explaining this. You have to be able to take your records to the next place. How does somebody don't understand that?
They contacted me because they couldn't get a hold of anybody they told me they couldn't get a hold of anybody at the sheriff's office. I turned around, I called my contact. They were busy.
Strange.
I flagged down a deputy sheriff that I saw by our volunteer area and turned around and had him wait. And I told them to put on gloves, bag them, tag them, bring them back so I could give them to the deputy sheriff that was there so that we could fill out the evidence and have a chain of evidence.
And when you saw the glasses, do you agree with this, that they couldn't be Sebastian's?
They were very similar to Sebastian's. It's been a month and a half since I've seen my son. So, it's a month and a half since I've seen his glasses. They looked really, really similar to the point that I didn't want to lose a chance that these might be evidence. So I gave them to the sheriff's department to log as evidence.
I want to play for you Katie, who spoke on YouTube to the Chronicles of Olivia, describing that morning and the night before. And I want to get your reaction to what she says happened in the house and where they were. Let's watch.
We went and picked up our niece. I got a call and asked if I could go and pick her up, and I did. And so we rented that and went to BJ's. Had a good time there. He ate a colossal popcorn. Came home, put groceries away because we bought snacks because, he's 15 and snacks. We went to the bowling alley. And then from there, we went to dinner. Came home. He took out the trash, because that's his chore. He takes the candy into the driveway. About 9 o'clock, told him to go to bed. And just come out of his room where he was playing, and he said, "All right, good night, Mama. Good night, puppies. Love you." And went to bed. He was doing something in his room because about an hour later I heard some noise and I was like, "I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to sleep." And about midnight, I got up and I went to bed. And 6 o'clock, I went to wake him up for school Monday morning. And that's when he went here.
I still can't believe.
Intermission. Gonna put up another poll. Did he go missing after dinner? There's a lot to this. Don't make any damn sense. Just don't make no sense. And it's not supposed to make any sense. That's the point. And they know this.
Seth, you know Katie better than all of us. Obviously, you know your son so well. Is there anything in that story that doesn't make sense to you?
The inconsistencies, from what I've heard before, none of it makes sense. Then things aren't, you know. I'm not here to sling mud, but why is she asking Chris to verify what she did on Sunday when Chris wasn't here on Sunday?
Bingo card. What I have said the past couple of weeks since I've been talking about this story. In the interview here, she looks at Chris to confirm that she had possession of the niece and the niece was with them. So is there proof in the surveillance that the child walked out with them, the niece? You see this a few times when she spins the story about this dinner and where they went and all that, eating popcorn. She looks at him for confirmation. So finally, I was glad that he said this. You know, why are you looking at him? Exactly. You don't need to look at him to spin the story because he wasn't there. And you can see him nodding his head, Chris, while she's talking about the dinner and where they went. Like, yeah, that happened. Well, how would you know what happened? You weren't here, so you only know what she's told you if you're not involved. So how about that? So you don't really know what has happened to the child. Everyone's, got their opinion of what they think has happened to the child. I do have my opinion of what I think as far as the child's livelihood. What actually happened to him? No, I have no idea. But I don't think he's alive. And I don't think Seth wants to admit that to himself. And that's his right. But I don't think the child's alive. Because what I have to tell myself about an autistic child, most people can't even deal with an autistic child that's theirs or work with them, school them. I can't see a person wanting to kidnap an autistic child. That's no disrespect, but why would a person want to do that? The only way a person would want an autistic child is because they just want a boy child for nefarious reasons, whether he was autistic or not. That's the only person I can see. And one thing I have not heard, any mentioning of pedophiles in the area, any pedophiles that just got released from a halfway house, penitentiary, jail. I have not heard any of that. If we want to believe that one found him, lured him out, door was unlocked, he went to the room, still got to look through the house, still risky. If you want to go on that route. Child wasn't on social media, didn't have friends, so how would he been able to get out to be lured? But I've also chopped that all up. Pedophiles who would have access to the house coming in and out, friends, neighbors. He met somebody, but wasn't that showing his phone? He was talking to somebody. He's texting somebody. So then you got to ask all that. Does he know how to properly operate a phone? Does he know how to text? Does he know how to download an app? And she really wasn't checking his phone to know who he's talking to and any apps. So you got to ask all those questions. Did Katie and Chris check his phone regularly to see who he's talking to see if there are any apps downloaded? Because if he's sitting here on this interview telling us she wasn't keeping up with him or paying attention to him or didn't have him on a schedule, which he's not really going into detail what he means, then I have to ask myself, well, how do I know he wasn't talking to somebody on the internet? See, that's the whole point of true crime. You only got a person's version of what they're saying. That does not mean that it's true. That doesn't mean that it's true. There's got to be some verification. How do we know who he was talking to? We're only going by what she has said and what Chris has said about apps, playing the Minecraft, blah, 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 this and that. But I don't know. I don't know the capabilities of the child, what he is capable of comprehending. Because it's really not hard to download an app. You just go in your Play Store or Google, pull it up, touch screen, the rest is history. Then you do all that email stuff. So I don't know. So if he's saying that she wasn't in tune to the kid, and yet he's not telling us what he means, then I got to ask, how do we know he wasn't on the internet talking to somebody? I don't know. Strange.
That is such.
Or the fact that she said that she heard a thump on another interview and didn't bother to check on our son. You know, there's a difference between some noise or a thump. I mean, just...
Did Katie make that up about the noise? Because her original interview, she doesn't mention anything about a noise, I don't believe. Just the time she put him to sleep. As she started talking to all these different YouTubers, she started giving a little bit of different information. So, next interview, it's a thump. Hey, cut it out of there. What she say? I don't care what you're doing, but you better be in bed or something. It doesn't even make sense. How you gonna say I don't care what you're doing, but you better be asleep? Or you can't have both. Most people say, hey, you in the bed, you better close your eyes, you better go to sleep. Or you better be in bed and not moving around and touching stuff. But did she get up to go check? See, the problem with this is you don't even know what's the truth. You just got a version that is changed in 5.5 weeks, okay? The version is changed. To went to bed this time, said good night Pa, good night Mom, good night puppies. Then you throw in something about a noise. So what I always have to tell myself is the obvious. The truth never changes and it doesn't deviate. So when you start changing things, it will lead me to believe you are lying altogether. How about that? You are lying altogether. So there was no bed at 9. There was no good night, Ma, good night, Pa, blah, blah, blah. There was no thump. There was no waking up and seeing them gone at 6 a.m. Because none of that happened. If I'm to believe what the hell she's been saying. Because like I said, when you start changing stuff that's really doesn't make any sense to be adding, what are you going to say the third, fourth time you're interviewed? Oh, I noticed something with a window. Oh, I noticed something with a door. You see what I'm saying? It's going to always be something extra. Then all that back and forth with the lights on in the back of the house. Oh, we got floodlights back here up front, but the lights weren't on in the back. And oh, they're not motion sensor. But then you find out she works for a security company. Anybody with sense would take advantage. You want me to believe they wouldn't offer you a discount? You work at McDonald's, you get a discount. You work for Ross, you should get a discount. You work for Macy's, you get a discount. You work for a security company, you wouldn't get a discount? Come on, stop the bullshit. But this is what they're putting out. But they've changed it just a little here, a little there, which would lead me to believe that nothing you have said is the truth. This is why they ask you questions when they're interrogating you. And then they re-ask you. Then they go talk to Pookie, Ray Ray, Bubba. Then they come back to you. And then they re-ask you again. And then they're going to tell you, well, that's not what such and such said. And then they're sitting there looking stupid. Now they got to think about what such and such said versus the lie they told to authorities. See where I'm going? It becomes a game. That's what you're here. That's what you have here. This is just a dirty game. Because this is what they're saying to themselves if indeed they have something to do with the disappearance of the child. You're not going to know no more than what I tell you. So you either believe it or you don't. Police ain't going to know no more than what I tell you. What I tell you on these podcasts, how are you going to get it verified? Because they know the cops ain't going to tell us nothing. They know TBI isn't going to tell us nothing. And they know CPS isn't going to tell us nothing. So I could tell you what I want to tell you. And then that's where Nina Gomez come in with her version. Then you either believe it or not. And you can best believe he was not expecting that damn woman to come out and start talking. So what I'm waiting on is for him to rebut what Nina has said. Because that should be next. That should be next. And the interview with the TikToker, oh, sweet Jesus. Are they going to respond to what Seth has said? Because, oh, he gave him the business, did he not? He let Chris know, I don't give a F. I'm going to find my child, look for my child, whatever. And what's scary to me is that this man really believes his child is alive. I guess. But is he alive? Is he holding out false hope? Because he really don't want to accept the fact that the child probably isn't alive. But he wants to make himself believe this. And I'm not in his shoes. Because you do want to have hope. But like the news reporter said today, you ain't got but a few options to where the child could be. So when you start knocking this down, such as the house, the situation with the house, what are your options of where the child could be? Especially when you start talking about alive. Who is going to gain from hiding out the child? The only person that would gain something, I think, would be Seth. Because he wants the child. So he would gain more by hiding the child, not the Proudfoots. If I'm to believe that they checked out as parents and didn't want the little boy, they would off the child, keep it moving, which we've seen them do this by leaving town. And that don't make no sense. So there are your red flags there. Never searched, different versions, talking to all these different people, and then poof, voila, you disappear. He's left holding the bag. He's holding the bag. He's the one that's holding out hope. He's the one searching.
Information that I received from watching any of their podcasts don't make sense.
Seth, please stay with us. I have a few more questions, and I want to make sure everyone, why we're doing this is because there is a boy who is missing. There's a dad who needs your help, and Sebastian needs your help. So Seth's going to stay with us. We've got more with him, plus coming up in the next hour.
So, is the child alive or deceased? Will this man ever come to the terms that possibly his child is not alive? He's going on and on about what he's hearing in podcasts and all of that, but he's not directly saying, this is why I think something happened. This is why I think maybe they did something. This is why I think she has not been watching him. Say it. Say it. That's what I'm looking for him to say. Because when you say she's not an adult, she's not doing this, what is it she's doing? Because I'm not getting an understanding. You're just saying, oh, the stuff they're saying, the podcasters. But what is it that they're saying that leads you to believe she is not an adult? She's not watching him. She's not taking care of him. Are you basically telling us you know this shit before? Before that alludes she hadn't been watching him, checking on him. I wish he would just say that. Because I don't really understand where he's going. Because when you keep talking about the podcast, what are they saying for you to say they didn't care about your child? She hasn't been an adult taking care of him. What specifically has she and him done for you to draw that conclusion? It's like he don't want to say it. I don't know why. Because he goes to the TikToker and he goes ham. So I'm just confused. It's hell. Did he go missing after dinner? 50% yes, 11% no. 39% of you are not sure. Laura says he's in denial. I think so. It's gotta be. It's gotta be something. What's the truth?
I didn't see him in his room.
That's the next question.
The whole house. I looked out all the doors and windows, and I was like hollering his name. And I picked up the phone and called my husband, and I said,
almost an hour into this live.
He said, what do you mean? I said, he's not in his effing house. I can't find our son.
That's Katie Brownfoot describing what she says is the moment that she realized that her son, Sebastian Rogers, was missing. Sebastian's dad, Seth Rogers, is still with us tonight. Seth, again, thank you. What is the last verifiable proof of, I guess, proof of life is one way to put it. I hate to say it like that, but the last time you can verify that someone outside of that home saw him or he was on video?
I've been Sunday leaving Texas Roadhouse.
And what time was that about?
About 6:30.
And do you know everyone who was there at Roadhouse with Sebastian?
All I saw was as they left the building and got into Katie's car, it was just her and Sebastian.
And anything unusual about?
So when she speaks of this niece, she didn't go out to eat with them? Because now he's saying 6:30 leaving Roadhouse, Texas Roadhouse, just Sebastian and the mom. So now we got to ask the obvious question. Did she take him somewhere? Hand him off to someone? Hurt him? Dispose of him? He never made it back to the house. Could that be where this story is going? He never made it back from Texas Roadhouse to his house, okay? You heard her mentioning the niece. So what are you saying? Her parents took her to the other place you all were at the bowling ring or whatever, met you all there, and then you went and took your son out to eat alone, giving him his last supper? Was this his last supper? Stay woke, everybody.
The video?
Not that I could observe from what little I saw.
And when they went to dinner out that day, I think Katie's described being with other family members. Have any of them spoken to you? Have any of them joined in the searches?
No.
No?
Wow.
No.
How about the immediate neighborhood? Have all the homes been searched? Have the people in that immediate neighborhood all been cooperative?
From my understanding, a lot of them have cooperated with law enforcement, and that they've given up their video cameras footage to Sumner County sheriffs, and they've been pretty much cooperative with law.
This is what's bizarre to me, and I asked this question before in my commentary pertaining to this case. Did he ever go out to the homes himself on that street where the Proudfoots live and talk to the people verbatim? Gave him his number, left his number. As you see, he must not have, because he's saying that he's heard that the people who live over in that area have turned in their camera footage to law enforcement. I personally, I would have gone to those people's doors that morning I went to see about my child missing. I would have done that. I would have not waited on law enforcement to go door to door. I would not have waited for Chris and Katie to go door to door. I'm already here. I would have waited a few hours, let people stir around, and I would have gone to the people's doors. I would have started knocking 10 something, 11, start asking questions, because naturally you don't want to start, waking the dead up, excuse me, but knocking on people's doors too early. But I would have started going to the people's doors. I would have got a sheet of paper and left my number. Hi, I'm such and such, my son is missing. Or I would have went to Kinko's Copies or whomever, Staples or somebody, and just drew up a little small letter saying, hi, my name is such and such, my child lives at such and such, he's missing. Please give me a call if you see anything, you know anything. I would have done that. Because he doesn't live that far. He lives less than an hour from them. So I would have went to a business, typed up me a short note with my number on it, and told the people, you feel free to call me anytime. Because this is why I said there was a lot of things that Seth has been asked that he should know the answers to. He should know the answers to. That's why I said, when he first went to that house, I would have listened to what the police had to say about whatever, listened to the answer she gave, and then I would have started walking around that house. I would have said, well, I need to go in my child's room. I'm going to check out some things myself. I'd have went through every dresser drawer, the closet. I would look under the bed. I would look at the sheets. I want to see if it's soiled, if he used the bathroom on himself. Hell yeah. I want to go in the laundry room. I want to see what's hanging up, what's dry, what's wet. I want to look in the washing machine. I want to look in the dryer. I'm going to walk around that house and look outside. I'm going to walk in the yards and look outside. Anybody come out asking questions, I'm going to tell them, I'm looking for my child. That's what I'm doing. Then I'd walk that neighborhood. Every street I'd walk looking myself. See if I see anything odd, suspicious. That's what you do. You kill two birds with one stone. That way you alleviate that problem down the road. He should have been in that neighborhood asking those people questions that Monday morning. And then work your way out. I'd have worked my way from Katie's house, outside her house, garage, neighborhood, and walked around the peripheral, the streets. And then, started making up some little flyers with notes just to let people know who I am. You have to do that. Because a lot of people are not in tune to things. And it's even strange to hear people say, in that general area, they don't know he's missing. How the hell could you not know he's missing? You live in that general Nashville, Tennessee area, you don't know this white kid is missing? What the fuck? I'm 3 hours from Nashville. I know he's missing. But this is what you see and hear all the time. There are people who live right in the same state. They can live 1 hour out from the location of a missing person, and they'll say, oh, I ain't heard nothing. I ain't seen nothing. Why? Because you're too busy in Facebook and IG watching these other crazy ass people talking about absolutely nothing. And you're not paying attention to the damn news. It's crazy. But you have people like this. They're not in tune to nothing.
Enforcement.
Is he in denial about his child being deceased?
Me personally, I haven't been in that neighborhood since the Wednesday afterwards. I've been around there. I've been to...
Let's hear that again.
A neighborhood all been cooperative?
From my understanding, a lot of have cooperated with law enforcement, and that they've given up their video cameras footage to Sumner County sheriffs, and they've been pretty much cooperative with law enforcement.
How about...
Me personally, I haven't been in that neighborhood since the Wednesday afterwards. I've been around there. I've been to the Beach High School, but as for going into that neighborhood, no.
Seth, I don't understand. Why? You said you haven't been in there since the Wednesday afterwards. So that would have been 2 days later? Is that what he's trying to say? You're there on Monday morning. And I'm assuming Wednesday means that Wednesday after the 26th, which will be the 28th. So you have not been back over there. That don't make no sense to me. I would be over there starting out, and then naturally work my way out to streets, areas nearby. And then you work your way out a little farther. But this is strange to me. I'd have been at everybody's door that Monday, knocking. They didn't answer. I'd come back, and I would have went to, as I said, Staples or some company, drew up a note, Fliers, just to say who I am, or got a picture of the little boy, put it on a flyer, and you could have went and made several copies and handed them out in the neighborhoods so people would know that he was missing. And you put your number on there, your phone number. Please call me directly. The fact that he has not been back over there is strange to me. Because naturally, as I said, I would have worked that neighborhood first and then work my way out. I don't know what's going on either.
I've been next door to the construction area. I researched that. I searched it on the Tuesday after he left, and then I've been there a couple times to research it. I've been to Beach High School, been over to the fire station when they had the EMA mobile command center there.
Do you think it's possible that he would, because you know your son, that he would leave in the middle of the night, potentially barefoot, maybe with a flashlight?
It doesn't seem like my son at all. He would never leave my house in the middle of the night barefoot. And if he did, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. You know, we've left in the middle of the night. There's been times that we've gone fishing in the middle of the night. You know, we plan that sort of stuff. But him walking out the door in the middle of the night, no. It's not.
So that's the question. Did the child have the propensity to wander? We hear the autistic children do wander off. So he's saying the child never wandered off in his care. But in the care of Katie and Chris, could it be possible that he wandered off before? Stress, nervous, just walk out the door, start walking off. They didn't go look for him. Hey, he'll come back. Because I heard somebody mention that a couple of weeks ago. They don't strike me as the type of couple that if he walked out on his own or upset or ran out, that they would go look for him. Because somebody said that might be a possibility. The child was in a stressful situation with them, altercation. He ran out and she or he shut the damn door and just said, we ain't gonna worry about it. He'll be all right. Could that have happened? Because something was going down in the house and he ran out. Him and the mother had an altercation. You heard his father say, he talks back, he's a kid, blah, blah, blah. Could it be she was telling him to do something? Hey, go to bed, take a shower, whatever. He told her, no, I ain't ready. And then they got into a physical altercation. And she hurt the kid. Or the kid got the best of her. I don't know. And then he ran out. I don't know. Because if you're mad enough and angry enough, you will run out without your shoes. That's why they say never. Because one, you're talking about an autistic child. So you really can't say what he would do in a given situation. You're only going by what they're telling you. But we really don't know what's true, see? That's the whole point. How do we know he didn't walk out sometimes when he got mad or got frustrated? Went to the door, she went behind him. Where do you think you're going? Blah, blah, blah. See, we don't know. Because I don't think we're really getting the whole truth about the Proudfoots, Seth either. I don't think we're getting the whole truth about everything. Because it's taking too long for the stuff to come out. You're talking almost a month and a half. And now you're getting tidbits of DHS calls and restraining orders and the Nina Gomez coming out. Because the Proudfoots didn't want this stuff out. That's the point. Why would they want this stuff out? They wouldn't. And he may not have wanted people to hear that she had a restraining order on him and said he was physically abusing their child. Why would Seth want that out? He wouldn't want that out. But he's now told that. So that's a good thing that he's told that. But all this other stuff with Nina Gomez and God forbid somebody else jumps out of a cake, Chris is not going to want nobody else coming out talking about he abused them or abused their children and any other type of allegation.
Something he would do, something he's never done on me.
Is there any chance, and I know there were rules in place, but is there any chance that he could have been lured by someone either from school or somewhere else to like, hey, you know, we're doing something at night or we're going somewhere or we're going to meet up?
Right.
Is that, do you think that's in the realm of possibilities?
I find that highly unlikely because my son doesn't really have a concept of days or how to, or time in order to plan something like that.
What do you mean? Could you explain that?
Well, trying to get him to wear a watch is already hard enough. You know, I've had him set timers on his phone so that he remembers that, hey, it's 7 o'clock at night. I need to take my medicine. I mean, he doesn't really have a concept of time except for, you know, he's got to, when he gets woken up in the morning at his mom's, normally around 6 o'clock, he's got an hour to get up, get ready, eat his food, and be out there to catch the bus between 7:10 and 7:20. Then he goes to school. He gets out of school at 3 o'clock, and I normally call him about 3:30. But when he's here and it's a weekend or something, you know, there's no time. You know, telling him at noon we're gonna head out and go fishing, and I'll sit there and watch. And he's all interested in going fishing. I'll sit there, and then he'll be like, he'll walk up to me. It's like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He's like, I thought we were going fishing this morning. And I was like, well, what time is it? And he'll run into the kitchen and look and be like, it's 2 o'clock. And it's like, oh, well, I thought we were going to do that this morning. And you needed to let me know when that was your thing. That's what I talked to you about. You know, let's get everything ready at 11 o'clock so we can go fishing. And you've been playing with your toys. You know, playing on your video game, watching TV with me. And it's like, well, I didn't realize what time it was. And it's like, okay, well, you know, we were supposed to do that this morning. Let's go ahead and get it done now. You know, he didn't really have a concept of the time.
I want to take.
It's one of the reasons I wear a watch.
I want to take another listen to Katie and Chris from the Chronicles of Olivia here, talking more about Sebastian to get your reaction.
Hey, Cornbread. Well, this is a similar case, it seems like to me, pertaining to this case. It's got Summer Wells written all over it. Child last seen with the mother, but the father's the one calling, and the father's nowhere around the parent, allegedly. And right now, you have no proof about Chris being at work, and you have no proof of Don Wells either.
For 20 days. So he is rambunctious. He's gonna be hungry. He turns into a bottomless pit. I mean, he's your teenage boy, you know, always hungry. On the spectrum, yes. But not one autistic child in this world is like another one.
That's true. Now, I will agree with that.
He's smart. He can be goofy. He kind of has issues with personal space. He hasn't mastered.
He can be
up in your face kind of kid.
he can be aggressive if he's upset.
Yeah. He's emotional. He's a teenager. He's
He
got
doesn't like punch and hit and throw, but he gets really like aggressive stance or like clipped where he just won't talk to you, or you know, if he's really upset, he like growls.
So you hear he can be aggressive, Sebastian. Has an aggressive stance, growls, but he doesn't punch, hit. So one would say, okay, so let's say there was an altercation as far as verbal with the child and one of these parents. Then one would say, well, why would you off them? Let's say we want to believe they off the kid. Well, let him growl. He growl all day. He gets mad, he wants to growl, let him growl. Walk off. Dr. Phil, he's good at saying that about kids that fall out on the floor at Walmart. And Dr. Phil said, let them cry. Let them fall out. When they see you walk off, they'll get up. Exactly. So 15, he wants to growl, stomp. Let him. He'll stop eventually. What the hell happened? Gets in your face on a good day, and what about a bad day? He don't push, he don't shove. Is that the truth? And as Chris says, and I believe this, every autistic child isn't the same, just like no child is the same. You can have 5 kids in your house and have 5 different personalities. One's shy, one's boisterous, one acts out. Every child isn't the same. And there's no way I'm going to believe every autistic child is the same. So that's something I don't do. I don't say what a child will and won't do. That's you can't say that. Because they have their own mind. So a child might one day decide they want to walk out the house. They might want to wander off. I can't say it. You can say they've never done that before. But you can't say they wouldn't do it. There's no such thing as saying they wouldn't. Because people have argued that about Summer Wells, what she would and wouldn't do. She wouldn't go off the hill. She wouldn't go down the drive. She wouldn't go in the woods. How do you know what a child would do? Child could be playing with a ball. It rolls down the driveway. It rolls down into the woods. They would chase it. They're a kid. You just can't say. You can just say, they didn't do it on my watch. I've never seen the child run off. I've never seen the child walk off. I've never seen the child go out at dark. But you can't say they wouldn't go out. You assume they wouldn't go out. But we've learned with children, they have done things that people didn't think they would do. That's why they have the little tests they do with children and strangers. Put you outside in an open area and you sit and watch your child, but your child can't see you. And they let somebody come over with a dog, a candy, bicycle, and watch to see if your child will interact with the stranger. You see where I'm going? Because that's the same thing Dominic McKinney said about his daughter. She was 3, of course. Oh, she would never go with a stranger. She would never. But we learned they believe they lured the little girl with candy because it was 2 of them working together. And they dropped the candy on the ground because you could see the children bending down picking something up. It was candy. And then next thing you know, on the camera in the dark, you see the little children following these grown person out of the camera. So this is why you can't say what your child would not do.
Seth, what are your thoughts about what we just saw?
They're describing my son when he was like 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
He's different now.
Yeah.
Yes, very similar.
Can you give us your routine now? I mean, I just get a sense that you're not sleeping much.
Yeah.
That you are out searching, you're organizing, you're getting the word out. What is each day like for you? And what are your thoughts about where his mom is, Katie, which is not in town anymore?
Chris and Katie Proudfoot are they're adults. They're responsible for themselves.
Wow.
I'm Seth Rogers. I'm looking for my son, Sebastian. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. I'm his dad.
Sammy, you're a mess.
I have to find him.
Yes, he's everywhere talking.
It doesn't look
Yes.
like they're doing it, so I'll do it on my own if I have to. I'll ask for people to come help. If they don't, then I'll do it myself.
Sammy,
I've always been like that.
you're too kind.
You know, you can't rely on people.
That's true.
Luckily enough, I'm finding people that I can rely on currently to help me find my son, and I appreciate everybody that is showing up. We've gotten people that have showed up from Ohio. We've got people that showed up from Missouri. We've got people that have come in from Florida. Everybody, we got people in the community that are showing up. They're upset and they're mad at how Chris and Katie are behaving in this. But they're human. I mean, none of us are without fault. just I would think that parents
Okay, D.
would and should act different.
In the bin.
Seth,
Oh,
I'm
mercy.
I hear it in your voice. I see it in your eyes. Our thoughts, our prayers are with you and Sebastian. Obviously, we're going to keep his picture on the screen as much as we can, night after night. Thank you so much, Seth. Good luck in the search, and please try to make sure you take. I know you don't worry about yourself. Please take care of yourself too, as well, Seth.
Oh well, I'll be around here long after I find Sebastian.
All right. Thank you, Seth. All right. When we come back, folks, we're going to continue looking at this story. We're going to speak with Olivia, Chronicles of Olivia. I know you've seen it on TikTok. You've seen it on YouTube. She spoke with Katie and Chris Proudfoot. She's going to join us next.
So many different versions you're getting about these people. You don't know what to think. Is he in the trash yard in Kentucky? I couldn't think. Landfill is what I was trying to say. Take the poll, everybody. Thank you so much. If you have an autistic child and you want to give your opinion to what it's like being an autistic parent, you can call the queen on IG at bigsexy.71. I really would like to hear from somebody that has an autistic child, what it's like raising an autistic child, because I know everybody's situation is not the same with an autistic child. But it'd be nice to hear from somebody with a child, especially his age, would be really a good idea to hear from somebody.
Hey guys, I'm out here in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I just posted a video where a whole group of volunteers and myself were in the woods back here.
Okay, might be Jackie.
Dogs picked up a certain area by these train tracks. I'm going to show you the footage right here that I took of one of the cadaver dogs that they had.
Welcome back. That's Olivia Vitali from the Chronicles of Olivia. You've seen her on TikTok, YouTube, doing compelling work in the world of true crime. There, at the time of one of the searches for Sebastian, she also went to the house and interviewed Sebastian's mom and stepdad. Take a look.
In today's video, I interviewed the mother and stepfather of Seth Rogers, a 15-year-old who vanished from Hendersonville, Tennessee on February 26th of 2024. He vanished and hasn't been seen since. Although he doesn't like to be dirty, it's kind of funny because he also doesn't have awareness, because if you look, he's got chocolate milk on his face because he didn't like it off at breakfast.
And joining me right now, the TikToker behind Chronicles of Olivia, Olivia Vitali. Olivia, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate it. Let me start here. You go to the home, to the house. When you walked in there and you met Sebastian's mom and stepdad, what were some of the first impressions that you had?
In terms of my first impressions, they were very nice. I went with my mother, along with a colleague of mine who works for Crime Scene Collective, which I'm an executive producer on. And they were welcoming, nice, and that's how they treated us.
Did you get to walk around the house at all? Did you see his room, anything? Or did they just want to sit and do the interview?
So they did want me to see Sebastian's room, but unfortunately I didn't have the chance to. I got so carried away with his mother. She was showing me pictures.
This right here with Olivia. Oh, Lord have mercy. She said she got carried away with talking to Katie. See, when you go into somebody's house, really you're supposed to talk about everything before you do the interview. If I say, hey, I'd like to talk to you, I'd like to come to your house, and then you say yes, and then you would say, well, I'd like to do this, this, and this, and then you wait to see if they're in agreement. Depending on how you want to roll your show and your content, you need to think all that out beforehand. I'm not getting ready to go to nobody's house to do no interview, and I don't go in the rooms of the child. I don't want somebody else coming back telling me to tell the audience what the room looked like, this, that, and the other. I want to tell you. And I would have asked him, can I film the room? Can I show what his room looks like? And then you wait for the response. But see, I would have got all that down before even going to the proud footage. That's why I said everybody delivers their content differently, but most people would have wanted to see the room. Most people would have wanted to see their house. This is why I say Mr. Seth should have walked around that house thoroughly when he went there on that Monday. I'm going in every room except for their bedroom. I'm getting ready to look in the family room. I'm getting ready to look in the laundry room. I'm getting ready to look in the day room, whatever the hell you call it, the outside room, outside. I'm ready to walk around his window outside. I'm getting ready to lift this window up to see if I can lift it up. I'm going to see if it's locked or not. I'm going to look outside to see if somebody been messing with the window. I'm going to look at the door latches. Hell yeah. I'm going to look at his bed. I'm going to look and see if he peed on himself. I want to see if it stinks, if it smells. He ain't had his fucking laundry done. Linen wash. This is how you get an understanding. Because you got to remember, out of sight is out of mind. I'm not here with him. I don't live with him. So I want to walk around and check shit for myself. And if they say, well, why are you walking over here? Why are you looking over here? And I say, you don't mind, do you? Of course I'd ask. Do you mind if I look around? I ain't going to go in your bedroom. But let me go in his room. Because we also learned in the other interview with the TikToker, he had his own bathroom. So hell yeah, I'm going in that room. I'm looking under the mattress, under the bed. I'm going in the bathroom. I want to see what's in the drain. I want to see what's in the toilet. I want to see if I see specks of blood. I want to see if anything, urine, whatever, I want to see. So I can say, I looked at everything before the police came, before the forensic team came in. See, you got to ask questions while you in the house so you could get a response from the people who are there. So if I say, well, can I see the child's room? If a person acts fidgety, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, what you want to look in there for? Then I'm wondering, well, why you don't want to go in there? See what I'm saying? You go in the bathroom, they come in there. What you looking for? What you mean what I'm looking for? It's my child's room. What you mean? See, you want to get a reaction. You want to see for yourself. You want to get a reaction. I don't understand, Olivia, why the fuck you did not want to go in the room. You got other people that are with you. Katie and them are lying. So they ain't about to be my whole focus. Like I said, everybody do things differently. Because frankly, her talking to them, once again, it shows you more shit you saying that you didn't say over here. We got that. Let me go in the room. But you're going to hear in this interview, one of her colleagues went in the room. Man.
Of Sebastian, it was a bittersweet moment.
Weird.
My colleague Ethan did enter Sebastian's room with Chris, and what my colleague tells me is that the room was clean, it was ordinary, there was a private bathroom, a twin bed, a window that faces the front yard.
I've looked at pictures. It seems like a really beautiful neighborhood, great house. It's where you would want to raise a family. You were taking part in some of the searches there. Can you describe the area, the areas where the searches were, the area around the house? How would you describe all of that?
Well, the area is fairly wooded. There is, it's the suburbs. There's neighborhoods, but there are areas we searched near one of the highways and just kind of around in the area. But there is trees and forest in that area. It's outside of Nashville. There's definitely more, as you can see, forest and yeah.
So
they're not called power tools.
All right. I hear you all in the chat about her disposition. Well, let me tell you something. When you want to get the story out about something, you want to be a little different than other people. You can be nice and still walk around a bedroom. You still can be nice in an interview and walk outside. That's what I would have given the viewers. I would have talked to them. I would have asked for permission to walk around the house, permission to walk outside and around the house to show you what the layout is so you can get a general idea. I can't get a general idea just from little captions from the news of the brick mailbox, the doorway. Let me see. Let me see you walk up to the house. Let me see you walk in. Let me see you walk around the house. Let me see you go out to the back. Let me see you walk around the yard. Let me see you pan the yard and the proximity to the houses. Let me see you go back out that house and walk through the neighborhood. Let me see. Because see, seeing is believing. And you can get a better understanding of his home, what his home looked like inside and outside, the proximity of the houses, who's got gates up, who ain't got gates up, who I'm noticing has doorbell cameras, security cameras. That's what people want to see. So it can make some sense. We're going to come off that street. I'm going to take you around another street. I'm going to show you the proximity and the yardage from there to the construction site. Stay woke. I'm going to show you what's nearby. I'm going to show you if there's a pond, if there's a river, what would attract an autistic child. See, that's what I would have done. But see, everybody don't navigate the same. She does a lot of going out and out searching. But see, I would have gave you a ride of the neighborhood. I'd have given you a ride of the proximity from the construction site to the backyard. Pan the camera. Can you see back there? That's the Proudfoot's house, if it's visible. That way a person can get a general idea. Because naturally somebody would say, oh, well, what's the footage? What's the yardage? Do you know? Say, well, you get all that on Google. You can press Google from their driveway to the construction site. Google gonna tell you how long it takes to get by bike, car, foot. Say, well, the school, same thing. How long does it take to walk from the Proudfoots to the school? How long does it take to ride it by a bike? As soon as you Google the address, Google gonna put all that up for you. Because that's what people want to see. That's what they want to hear. So they can get a better understanding. Is the child a walkable child? I would have asked him that. Do you ever go on walks with your child? Do you ever let your child walk the neighborhood by himself? Does he have a bicycle? Say, well, did you ever let him ride outside of the cul-de-sac? See, you're not hearing none of that. All you're hearing is all this bullshit about dogs and scents and all that, and the police not putting their stamp on it. You got to ask questions to make a person think he walked off. He drove off, rode a bicycle, a scooter. Does he have a scooter? Does your son have a scooter? Does your son have a bicycle? Does your son have a skateboard? What do you let him do through the week? Where does he go through the week? Where does he go after school? What does he do on the weekend? Does anybody ever come over to visit the child? See, I don't hear none of that. I don't hear none of that. That's why this case is a problem. Because you're not hearing the stuff to make it make some sense for me to even think. He ran away, he walked out, he was lured out. Show me something. But they've told you he didn't do nothing. He don't got no apps on his phone. Nobody visits. He don't go nowhere. So really what you've done is told us you are the common denominator pertaining to the little boy missing. Stay woke.
From that interview, this is a story. I know you cover a lot of stories, but this is one where everyone who's looking at this feels like there's nothing. There's not a clue. There's like no information. This is a 15-year-old who seemingly has vanished. Is there anything that sort of struck you as, well, wait a minute, that doesn't happen. Something happened here, and maybe something you're thinking about, something that maybe folks on the ground there were thinking about could have happened here. Because like from the outside looking in, it's like this young man just vanished.
You know, it's a mystery. I wish I had the answer to that question. I mean, I didn't see anything unusual in their home. It's actually very beautiful, very spacious, and it's a beautiful neighborhood, a lot of big houses. And they were very nice and cordial with me and my mother and my friend Ethan. And I have no idea. It is a mystery. In terms of the conference yesterday, the chief deputy did say there's no evidence to suggest foul play.
I know. So, but something happened, right? We all know that something happened. Either he was lured outside, walked outside, or something else happened. What's the lingering question that you have tonight, Olivia, about Sebastian and what happened here, or what question needs to be answered?
In terms of a question that needs to be answered, I mean, it is a mystery. I wonder about security footage, or if possibly maybe there's somewhere out there a certain building or something that may have just that one bit of security footage, or that could show maybe something, or maybe someone out there knows something and they just need to see Sebastian's face, which is really important. I think the point of the interview is to bring awareness to Sebastian, and that's something that, another thing is we didn't want to focus on speculation or rumor-driven theories, just facts that could lead to hopefully find Sebastian.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Obviously, everyone is watching your interview, and everyone that watches it sees his face. Everyone that sees his face, now you spread it, and hopefully someone out there has that one lead that leads to an answer here. Olivia Vitali, great to have you on the program. Chronicles of Olivia, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. Great work you're doing. Thank you.
All right, everybody, it's Court TV. Speaking to a YouTuber. So the search is still going on pertaining to the young boy. What do you have to say, Jackie? I think he went to the bed and something happened. That's why he took the torch. You mean the flashlight? He's supposed to he emptied the trash earlier, sweetheart. If you're going to believe what Katie said in the interview, he emptied the trash earlier. Well, you can go to YouTube Q when you get off from work and watch it, or if you can watch it while you're on work. He's talked to a TikToker. I think his name is Justin. We're going to play a little bit of that because I don't want to, copyrights for playing people's content. People are very funny about the content. So what's the truth to this little boy? Searches are still out. They said they had already planned these searches that you're seeing several weeks ago. So how many more searches are we going to get pertaining to this kid? Let's hear a little bit of this. He goes in more details about his son, his likes, talking to this TikToker. It's a lot of crazy nonsense. "15-year-old Caucasian male, 5'5", 120 pounds, white, brown hair, brown eyes, male. Where is Sebastian Rogers?" There are allegations floating around that he has put out about his relationship with Katie, reminiscent of what happened with Nina and Chris. Allegations that he abused the child, but were later unfounded by the state of California. Allegations that the boy child was touched by another child out of California. Nothing was done. Child is traumatic, had a traumatic event. Started getting help a year ago. Why so late? He also brings us allegations against Katie, trying to keep the child medicated. Maybe because she was at her wit's end in dealing with the child years ago. Okay? See, what you have to remember about missing children, missing people, it's not something that just happened the day they went missing. Something was already brewing with that person and another person if they were hurt by another human. It's been long running. And then there's the jump off. Words exchange, physical altercation, verbal, physical, or it's premeditated. This is the day I'm going to knock this person off, get rid of him or her. See, I don't know what it is with this case. I do believe it's foul play, but I don't know if there was an altercation, verbal, physical, or it was pre-planned. But something's off. Here's Seth Rogers' story pertaining to his life with his child, Katie, Chris. It's not good. It's not good at all.
before we get started on questions and things like that about Sebastian, who this is really about, is there anything that you want to say to the people before we start?
Thank you. Thank you, all those that are helping me find my son. Thank you for everybody who's showing up to search. Thank you, everybody who's putting out flyers, even where they live. Every little piece helps.
Let me address Jackie in the chat. Jackie, you can only go by what Katie's told you. So you don't really know what's the truth, see. You only have the child seen on camera from the Texas Roadhouse. The father says he's seen it. After that, you don't know what's the truth. You don't know anything about bed, emptying trash, thumping the room. So you don't know if any of that's true. You don't know he walked out, took a flashlight on a key ring. So you don't know any of that's true. He's wearing his glasses. So you don't know that. You only know what she's telling you. For all we know, none of that happened. For all we know, he was disposed of after Texas Roadhouse. Could have been hurt in his bed. Could have been hurt sitting in a chair. How do you know? This is her version. And there's nobody to corroborate her version. There's nobody to say, yeah, we got proof he was in the bed at this time. How do you know that? You don't even know that he made it home from Texas Roadhouse. That's the problem, see. There's nobody to verify nothing. Even now, police have yet to say, we verified them walking out of the restaurant, getting in a car, but we do not know that they made it home together. For all we know, Katie came home alone. See, that's where there's a problem. There's no verification.
My son's name and face plastered everywhere.
Take the poll.
And if somebody out there is watching this and you have a file, he's mine. I need you to just drop him off at an open gas station and tell him to go inside and tell him who he is. And tell him to call 911.
5 weeks.
One of the questions I was going to ask you later, but let's go ahead and get this one out of the way because it goes with what you're saying. Other than what you just said, is there any other message that you would like to convey to anyone who might have information about Sebastian's whereabouts? Anything that you want to say to them at all outside of what you just said?
Show up. Email me. There are people on Facebook that for all these sites, send it to them. You know, there's Miss Terry Lynn. She has a podcast. She wants people to send her tips. If you're local and you have a tip, come by where we gather.
Now, right here is where we have the problem. Law officials have already said this, especially with the 2 women missing out west in Kansas. This case as well, same thing with Raleigh Strain. Seth, let the Queen talk to you for just a second. Nobody needs to be sending tips to a podcaster. No. If you have a viable tip, you're supposed to send it to the police. That's been said 1,000 times. You don't send a tip to a podcaster. If a podcaster has a tip, he or she needs to send it to the police. You don't need to be talking about it on your channel. I heard this. I saw this. No, go call police. Because that makes no sense. A whole person is missing, and you want to post it on Facebook, TikTok, IG. What's the point? You know something about the child, then you tell the police. And then if you want to then go to a podcaster or put it on your own network, then okay, then you do that. But I'm not going to have a tip about a missing person and then just say, well, I'm just going to put it on Facebook. I'm just going to put it on my YouTube channel. That don't make no sense. That's when I believe that it's not factual. Because that makes no sense to have information that could help solve a crime. And I don't call TBI, I don't call Sumner County Sheriff's Department. That doesn't make any sense to me. So, Seth, I don't agree with you here. Telling people to send a tip to this YouTuber. No, 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 and no. And another thing, I found it interesting in this interview, we hear about the GoFundMe. GoFundMe gets 50% of the proceeds. I did not know that. He's also, somebody else had a page set up. As far as a reward, he said he's got to check that out. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if he knows this person or it's not legit. I'm not really sure. And also, he has a friend who has said, let me talk to you, Seth, about that. I don't think it's a good idea for nobody to send money to a cash app that does not belong to you directly. Let me say that while I'm live. To keep down confusion, because this is your first child missing. And I don't know if you're ever going to have children again. But any money donated for searching, supplies, whatever, or just for you personally, because you're taking off for work, naturally you still got bills to pay. It needs to be in your own name. As not to cause confusion, because there's something in this conversation at the end of this live that is bothering me, and I'm going to say it now and get it over with. If there's a reward, it needs to be in a legitimate reward and at a bank or Crime Stoppers, number one. Any monies that you want to be given to you for searches, personal, you should have it to your own cash app. Here, a friend has it set up on the bottom of this guy's screen. I don't agree with that. Because when some shit jumps off, how are you going to get the money, and how's the money going to be funded for anything if it's in somebody else's name? They will have the right to that cash app, and they can do whatever they want with that money. And then you think they're going to show you every day who's been sending money to the cash app for on behalf for you? And I'm just funny like that. We've already had bullshit happen with Summer Wells reward. Somebody from the UK meddling and shit that didn't concern them. And that money ended up being dispersed to other organizations in that general area. So right now, there's not even a reward for Summer Wells. So this is why you need to make sure everything's on the up and up. As far as the woman making the shirts. Okay, you really didn't have an answer to where those proceeds are going. Because she's got to get something out of it for making the shirts from her own company. The picture, the fabric, the shirts. Who's buying all that? See, you have got to stay in tune to things, especially when it comes to dealing with money. Because we have seen the fallout of people making shirts, making t-shirts, making mugs, and then they're not authorized by the parent or the guardian of the person missing or relative. See where I'm going? So I understand Seth is overwhelmed. He has a lot going on, but he needs to be aware of anything pertaining to his child and his child's name. You need to make sure, like you said, if you're going to do a GoFundMe, that you know the stipulations of the GoFundMe. Anybody making any shirts, coffee mugs, anything, you need to know where the money is going. So you need to be talking to that person directly, what they are expecting from you. Monies, funds to make the shirts, you need to have an understanding, and you better have it in writing. Just saying. Because we would hate to hear later there's some bullshit pertaining to anybody making shirts or making shirts on their own over in Idaho or New York, and they're selling them, and then people looking like, okay, is Seth or the parents authorizing this? See, this is what happens with true crime. Grifters, grinders, it'll be some bullshit. So he needs to get an understanding about anything with that child's name on it, as far as searches, GoFundMes, anybody making anything off the boy's name, apparel. You need to know where the money is going. Because let's be truthful, it would not be right for somebody to make a shirt about your child and they get all the proceeds. Because then they're benefiting from, you understand what I'm saying? He needs to be more in tune to these things. And the Cash App thing, I definitely don't agree with that. If it's his Cash App, you want to donate to his Cash App, Seth Rogers' Cash App for him personally, fine. But your friend, no disrespect, hell no. Because you got to know that your friend is going to be honest enough to show you every transaction. And then he's got to be able to pull that money off some type of way to give to you. See where I'm going? So you dividing that money up for what? Searches, personal effects for yourself? Are you going to also want to pay any type of bills from that money? Or are you already set with your job as far as taking a leave? See, those are the things you need to get an understanding, because I'm telling you, I've seen it with the Summer Wells case. this is not what you want to have, is a problem financially with cash apps and GoFundMe's and unauthorized selling of products pertaining to Sebastian. And somebody needs to be schooling him on these things. So there won't be people arguing and fussing about where they sent some money. Hey, did you get that check? Hey, did you get this? And then somebody's saying, oh, yeah, I gave it to him. And then Seth says, well, no, I didn't get it. He needs to be in tune with everything pertaining to his child's name.
Before we go out to search, I live in Clarksville. You know, you'll find me. My truck's pretty easy to make. I mean, there are people, even if you want to call where I work, call, and they probably won't like this, but call Davidson County Sheriff's Department. Tell them that you have a tip.
Please, yes. Call the police. Don't call anybody else.
I'm pretty sure I've gotten a lot of support from Davidson County.
Yeah, I'm positive they would get it to you. And at the same time, you know, if it comes up and you guys need to get a tip to somebody, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Pascal. You can reach out to anybody that has anything. For me,
let me go deeper into this conversation. Let's see if I can find what I'm looking for.
Which makes it that much more. That being said, you know, let's start here because this is about Sebastian, right? We've had a lot of people ask a lot of things about Sebastian, but we don't know a lot about him. So if you don't mind, how would you describe him as a person, as your son? What are some of his passions, some of his interests?
Oh, boy loves video games. Think it's more like a close toss-up between animals and video games. When it comes to animals, he loves cats. Like, the boy just loves cats. He loves cats. I mean, like if he sees a stray cat, he's apt to walk up and, why is it running from me? Well, son, it's a cat.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to explain, you know, and not. I mean, my son got bit in the face by a dog, and he had to have 7 stitches in his face. And he still isn't scared of dogs. I mean, he's not scared of anything. Except for, I guess, his stepfather.
That's fair. What are some of the memories, like your favorite memories that you have with him? What stands out to you as a dad? I know that you have a great relationship with your son. What are some of the things that you guys like to do together?
Well, I think one of the favorite things that he likes to do with me is road trips. Me personally, I'm not a fan of road trips because he were to drive. Okay, if he were to drive some, you know, that'd be great. But I can't even get him to sit behind the wheel in the vehicle stationary. But he likes to go on road trips with me. He likes it when I take him to go. I mean, he was born in Georgia. We moved to Kansas while his mother was at Great Mistakes. And then she got stationed in San Diego. And so we drove to San Diego. And then she would leave on a deployment or a half a deployment, a third of a deployment. And we would leave the house. We'd pack everything that we were going to need into the car. And we would drive. We'd go see family. He has been coast to coast probably 6 times. I mean, boy loves road trips. To me, they're educational.
Yes, they are.
Because a road trip is never the same.
I agree with him. Totally agree.
You can take a different route and see different things.
Take the pause, everybody.
And he loved it. He liked when Christmas came around or summer break, if I could get it off, road trip. We'd go down to Texas to see his grandma and his grandpa. You know, there's multiple different ways to get there. Drive through Missouri into Oklahoma, stop and see friends on the way. I think that's one of his favorite things to do with me.
So when was the last time he took a road trip with his son? When was the last time they went on a road trip? We're going to try to go a little fast forward to some things about the mother, because it's a lot. It's a long interview. I'm not going to chop up all of it.
Information, son. If you want to know things, ask me.
Let me see. Hold on.
Dash Rogers, you can get one of those at the same time.
I found out afterwards, I mean, okay.
Let's see.
streaming this right now, went to that cash app and donated just $1, it would make a tremendous difference for him.
Yes, $1 would go a long way. Is the child alive?
There's something that you said a little while ago. You know that we talked about this beforehand, and I don't want to talk too much about your ex and his stepfather. I want to keep that to a bare minimum because this is about you. This is about Sebastian and about you because you're the one that's out there every day doing things. But you had said a second ago that he was afraid of his stepdad. What has he conveyed to you or talked to you about that you were able to talk about why he was afraid of him?
When I found out afterwards, I found out after my son disappeared that he was scared of his stepfather. I mean, I've seen some of the podcasts where he has used the belt. I mean, if you think about if you've been to the school, I've talked to the principal, I've talked to his teachers, I've talked to the SRO, and everybody is like, he's a wonderful kid. You know, he's always happy here. He always wants to make sure, as the SRO told me, he saw him every day. And the SRO was like, it was the same thing every day with him. He would stop the SRO and be like, how many tickets are you going to give the teacher today?
See, this is where I'm confused. He says he's going off what he heard from the podcast, but he doesn't explain what it is that you heard that would lead you to believe the child was afraid of the Proudfoots, his own mother and Chris. You hear that he got spanked allegedly once with a belt. Some will probably think Chris lied. He may have lied. But I'm trying to understand, what is it that he assumes, or he heard from the podcast, that the child was afraid of these people? I don't hear that. I haven't heard anything that they've said that would make a person think that the child was afraid. I only could draw that conclusion from when Nina spoke, that this child would possibly be afraid if this man, has a temper, uses the belt more than once, or fist or open hand. But see, we don't know because we're not hearing them say, yeah, we spanked him often, we hit him, blah, blah, blah. Who's going to tell that on a live stream? Nobody. So I don't understand how he comes to this conclusion that the little boy was afraid of them, just from them talking to the podcasters about spanking him one time with a belt. Now, did he not know that the child never got spanked with a belt? And he just assuming that the child would be fearful? That's the only way I can take this. You hear about the belt, so now you assume your child feared them. But they didn't tell you that they whooped the child often. So this is where I'm confused. I'm just confused.
And
It's funny.
I like to think that he got that from me. I have a sense of humor.
You do have a sense of humor. Even through all this, you have a pretty good sense of humor, I think.
Well, there's been people that say that when my sense of humor is gone, the world's probably going to end. But
Let's try to get to some of these other allegations or whatever. This is winded.
and they removed his tonsil. Had him set with a routine. I could get him to take a shower.
Hold on there, right?
And earlier that you were talking about, and you and I talked about this a little bit on the phone, and like I said, we don't want to talk too much about, your ex and that side of this. But there is something that I did want to bring up because information about you and your divorce with Katie, was leaked. And some of the stuff has taken the internet to put a lot of accusations against you. And you and I have told the story, or told me the story of what happened, and I want you to kind of share what you're comfortable sharing. But what I found that was kind of odd between the accusations that are being thrown out about you through your divorce is that those stories are oddly similar, very similar, in fact, to the stories told by Chris when he was basically bragging about the way he treated Sebastian, the way that Nina Gomez, her children were treated and she was treated. It's oddly like it almost mirrors it exactly. And so respectfully, what I'd like to ask you, is there anything regarding those accusations that you would want to address?
I mean, she filed for a divorce. She accused me of domestic violence against my son. Took several months I ended up, when she filed for a divorce, me being the person I am, I was like, okay, we'll grab a legal pad and let's go ahead and do a divorce. We'll go ahead and split all the furniture and whatnot. What do you want? You know, obviously things of that sort. And I was like, when it comes down to Sebastian, all I want is 50-50. He's my son, you're his mom, you know, so. And when that part came up, she went and got an attorney. And the next thing I know, I'm being issued a restraining order for domestic violence and a move out order so that I would no longer have a place to stay as well. I thought initially I thought it was her that I was being accused of being violent against. She told them that I had an arsenal. They showed up with like 20 sheriffs in SWAT gear, armed with assault rifles, fully automatic in California. They walked up. I looked at the lady and I was like, "You're coming in here. Who are y'all here for?" Because I was outside with my son and he was playing with the neighbor's kid, and we're sitting there, you know, drinking coffee, shooting the shit, watching our kids play. When they rolled up, and when they rolled up, he looked at me. He was like, "I wonder who they're here for this time." And I was like, you know, one day they're going to be here for me because Katie's going to call them on me. And
see, I find that sad. The neighbor saying who are they here for, which will lead me to believe they came to that area often. Why? Then he says he believes they will show up there for him, and they were there for him. It's very baffling information. So then people would say to themselves, well, why would you stay with her if you thought she was the type that would call the police on you? So then you got to ask that question. How many times did she call the police on him and him on her? Did they have a lot of domestic calls called on each other with law enforcement?
That was.
And did anybody ever go to jail?
The time that they were there for me. They rolled up. The lady that was in charge, she told me that why I was here, why they were there, and I was like, okay. I looked at her and I was like, you don't remember me, do you? And the lady looked at me and she was like, no. And I was like, I'm the father of the autistic special needs child. And she was like, oh, I remember you. And turned around and told all the deputies there that they needed to stand down. I'd comply with whatever was asked. And they were like, they stood down. There was no need for all that. You know, that time I was before she did this, I was an armed security officer, worked in military housing. And they were like, we hear you have firearms inside. I was like, yeah, I have my pistol that I use when I'm at work. And then I have the other pistol that is used for work. Because work issues your own pistol. And then I had my own.
So I'm going to stop here. Did he abuse his child? This is what she proclaimed to the law enforcement, that he abused the child. Later, she put this in documents, in her divorce documents. Did Seth Rogers abuse his son? I'm curious. Hold on one second, everybody. I see something come up here on my screen. I want to check it out. Oh, Lordy. Hold on. Oh. All right. Sorry about that. True or using the boy as a pawn?
And they were like, where are they? And I told them they were all on my desk. And they were like, but you have a child. Why do you have them on your desk? I was like, they're on my desk. You can go get them. 30 minutes later, they asked me to come and point out where they were on my desk. And I walked in and I showed them the secret little pop so that they would drop down so you could actually get them. And they took those, and I still never got my firearms back. That's it.
Some of you may not agree that was a decent place to hide your weapons, his work weapons, because children do wander around and go through things. Child could have easily opened up that drawer and pulled the gun out. So then you have to ask, was there a safety latch on the gun, or could you just fire and bullets would come out? So I would say those were probably, that was not the best place to have a gun because children do ramble and things and they go look for things because that's just what kids do. They like to ramble. So how was the child, this incident when they were in California? I'm curious.
California. But that was it. So I was hit with this. I turned around. I was living in my car, trying to make ends meet, trying to make sure I had money to feed myself, which was, yeah, it was kind of hard to actually get employment because I didn't even have a residence or an address anymore. Dealing with the court issue, finally turned around and her attorney kept pushing and pushing, and the judge at one point in time just turned around and told both me and Katie that we needed to be adults and remember that we're parents for Sebastian, and told us to go in the hallway and do a parenting plan, and dismissed everything. CPS had done their investigation. Finally, CPS never contacted me. One day I went by there just out of the wind. It was the last day they were closing the case, and they informed me they've been trying to get a hold of me for the whole time. And I was like, well, my number hasn't changed in years, like 12. And they were like, well, nobody had your information. And I was like, well, his mother did. And she didn't even bother to give him that. They turned around and they were like, well, we can't find any evidence of any abuse. And so they submitted that to the court. The court dismissed everything.
One thing.
So everything was dismissed by court. CPS closed the case. But did he abuse his child? Or Katie made this up so she could get out of her divorce? Also, I want to ask this question. Nina believes that Katie was messing around with Chris when she was still married to him and going through her woes with him. Could this be the reason why she wanted out of her marriage, did all this protective order against him, got him put out of the house, he's sleeping in the car, couldn't get work, nobody notified him, CPS or anybody, number was still the same, was the same for years. Naturally, she didn't give him information where they could find him or his number. Did she do all this because she wanted out her marriage, had been messing around with Chris while married to Seth? So she made up all this stuff so she could try to hurry up and get out her divorce. And once again, does she receive any type of supplemental income for the child's disability with autism? Does she receive money for the boy child? And is this a reason or a motive if indeed he's not alive? Because I'm kind of all over the place with these people right now. One would say, well, why would she get rid of the child? She wants to get the income. I don't know. He's allegedly supposed to be getting custody of the boy. Maybe this is her way of fighting him, getting rid of the kid. Because if she's getting a check for him, she wouldn't be getting a check if he goes over and lives with the father. Lot to digest. What's the truth of the allegations of him abusing his son? He says he didn't. Case dropped. CPS dropped the case, closed the case. And then she goes on to meet a man, marries him. And now his ex-wife accuses him of abuse of her children, same as what you're hearing in this case, of Seth allegedly abusing Sebastian. Don't you find this very interesting?
Oh, let me try to get this better so we're even size. There we go.
Take the call.
What I want to say to the people with this is, oftentimes you want to make sure that you believe victims 98% of the time when they accuse somebody of something, but there are situations where you can tell that things aren't truthful. I will tell you that I have talked to Seth at length about some of this stuff, and I truly, and I would say this even if he wasn't here, believe him.
I'm going to stop right here. Is the child alive? 77% no. 16% not sure. 5% says yes. Now we're going to ask you about Seth abusing this boy child. And this will be in California. I guess I could ask now too. Don't know.
Because I think there's a couple reasons why. So you can tell the way that he shares his story, and you can also tell in his actions, which is the fact that he is out there literally every single day. The other thing that I want to share with you guys from just a real quick personal note is that there are women like that who will use their children, fathers too, but there are women out there who will use their children as pawns, as control in a divorce situation. My mom was one of those. She had my dad arrested in front of me multiple times by violating some BS contempt of court thing. It just sometimes happens, and I think that that's what he got caught up in, and I truly...
All right. Was the boy child afraid of Chris? 84% yes, 10% no, 5% not sure. Let's go into a little bit more about these allegations of child molestation. Hold on.
Katie and Chris let a child into their house that was 5 years older than my son. My son was 7 or 8 at the time, and this kid was 13. And she has a habit of not checking on her kid.
What does he mean by this? Because earlier, when he talks to Court TV, he says a similar comment. She's not an adult. So what does he mean, not an adult, not checking on the kid? So then you got to ask yourself, did they ever leave the boy child alone? Now, most people will say, well, at 15, 14, you can leave a child alone. You can leave maybe a 13, 14, 15-year-old alone if they have the propensity to mind and stay out of trouble, not turn on stoves, not open the doors for strangers. But that's the whole point. Everybody's child does not navigate the same. Such in this state here, we don't really have any strict laws about leaving children alone up in age. I think it's 12 or older, if I'm not mistaken, or 13. But the point is, an autistic child, even at 15, you probably wouldn't want to leave alone just because. So let's ask that question. Did she ever, or did she, before he went missing, leave him alone in a house? Leave him somewhere out in public alone? Library, functions, parks, stay woke. She didn't watch him. What does he mean by that? Because in order for you to say that, and you don't live with her, you're not married to her now, I'm going to ask the obvious. Did she do this when you were married to her? She didn't engage with the child. She'd walk outside, smoke a cigarette, or sit outside, talk on the phone while the child's in the house playing, or vice versa. She's in the house doing her own thing, and the child's outside alone. Because in order to say she's not an adult with the child, she's not watching the child, you'd have to have proof of that. So what is his proof of this allegation against Katie?
I would never let some kid that's 5 years older than my son play with my son anyways. It's like, why do you want to play with my son? There's a 5-year difference. That's a pretty big difference. You're 13, and my son, you're a teenager. My son is not a teenager. He's still playing with Hot Wheels and Legos, and he's building things. He's playing video games, and you're a teenager. You go out and you have your own, age-appropriate group that you play with, and they were letting this kid play with my son, and they weren't checking on him, and then this kid took my son's innocence, and he molested him.
How did they find out that the boy molested Sebastian? Did he tell them he touched me in my private parts? Exactly what did he do to the child? Not to be, derogatory, but what did he do to the child, and where did he do it to him? You said he was outside with a child playing, so where were they playing? In the house? Outside? What? I'm kind of confused. Hold on, we got to go back. Not making no sense.
He's still playing with Hot Wheels and Legos and
Wait a minute.
Katie and Chris let a child into their house.
Okay, into the
5 years
house.
older than my son.
Okay.
My son was 7 or 8 at the time.
So where did he assault the boy child? In the room, in the boy's private room, in an open room, living room, where? And then how do you know that he touched him? Sebastian would have to tell it, or you caught him in the act doing it. So which is it? I'm kind of confused here.
You have your own,
Very wicked.
appropriate group that you play with, and they were letting this kid play with my son, and they weren't checking on him, and then
Whose child is it? Where did he come from? Who are his parents? Did they confront his parents? See, there's so many questions you gotta ask. Whose child is it? How long was he playing with the little boy? Playing with him in the room? What did he do to him? How did they find out? How many times did he come over and play with the child before you found out that he was touching the child inappropriately? Too many questions, no answers, no answers, no answers.
and
Whose child was
this
it?
kid took my son's innocence,
Oh,
and he
Lord.
molested him.
Bad business.
Take your time.
It's real bad business.
And there was nothing I could do in California because the kid was 13.
13.
But they let that happen. And they didn't bother to try to even get my son help until last year. Here, my son is just turned 15 in December. It means he's been dealing with an emotional, stressful, traumatic.
So where was Seth living? I'm confused. The boy was touched. How did they find out he was touched? And where was Seth living at the time when the boy got touched? He said he couldn't do anything about it because it was California. And naturally the boy's underage, 13. So what happened to the boy? Where is he now? Is he still touching children inappropriately? God, what the hell is going on? This is wicked.
Incident for the last 7 years. And I've been trying to help him. I've been trying to get him help. Going to talk to his doctor and telling them what happened. And for the doctor to tell me, she was like, I knew none of this stuff. And I'm like, really? Because he's supposed to be seeing a therapist for this. And she's like, well, he's not seeing the right type of therapist for this type of trauma.
So what kind of doctor did he speak to? A physician or a psychiatrist or psychologist? Because he doesn't specify. And then you hear whoever he was speaking to said, well, he needs to see a different type of doctor. So, Katie, did you inform anybody that your child had been touched inappropriately? A mental professional? Because we learned that you like to medicate your child and you were telling doctors he need this, this, and this. Maybe this is what he's talking about as far as you checking out. You weren't in tune with the child. Maybe he was too much to handle. So you wanted him sedated so he wouldn't be so much for you to deal with. Is that true? Almost like the women who make their children sick to get attention. You go make up stuff to say he's doing this, because you were checking out. You didn't want to really fool with the child. You didn't want to fool with the child, so you'd make up stuff about him. What's the truth? And does this child have insomnia? Couldn't sleep? Or is this just shit made up by Katie? Too many questions, no answers. Take the pose, everybody.
About my son. And actions speak so much louder than words.
Whew. Lordy, what a
And there's
mess.
just no justification for the actions that I've seen from them. They're not parents.
They're not parents. He finally
They're
said.
not parents at all.
Okay. So now people are going to ask, now that we know that Katie lived in California, they live in California, Now I'm starting to wonder, was she the mistress messing around with Chris in California when he was married to Nina? See, is that where this is going? Because he's saying they weren't parents. So what are we talking about here? I need a timeline of when everybody lived in California. And how did Katie meet Chris? In California or in Hendersonville? Maybe I missed that. Because Nina thinks they were messing around when she was married to him and they were having troubles. And I'm wondering why Seth didn't mention any of this in the beginning. When the child went missing, why didn't he go to the news and tell them of the dilemmas he had and his suspicions of these people's behaviors with his child, things he was accused of, order protection, all these things? Maybe he didn't want all that to get out. So this is why I said, you didn't tell the news these things in the beginning. Did you tell law enforcement these things? Did you think these people had something to do with your child missing day one, but you just didn't say it, but you thought it? And are you finally going to say to the public, you believe these people hurt your child and your child is not alive? Because I do believe you are possibly in denial about your child being deceased. You want to have hope, and you should want to have hope, because that is your child. But are you realistic? Because for you to tell all these things to a TikToker, and you didn't say these things to Vinnie Politan, we would have to wonder what is really going on with you internally pertaining to the disappearance of your child and what you think these people have done and not done. Do you believe they hurt your child, sir? And you just don't want to say it out loud.
And I want to know what happened to my son.
Lord me, what a mess.
You deserve to know what happened to your son. Every bit. And I'm sorry, I don't think any of us were aware of that. And I'm so sorry that, number one, that he went through that, and two, that as a parent, you know, going through a parent's worst nightmare, but that's like the second worst nightmare.
My son around his daughter. Because Chris has turned around into my mother, told my mom, your grandson's a pedophile. No, he's not. He's a victim that hasn't got the help that he deserves and that he needs so that he can get over the traumatic incident that has happened to him. This should have never happened underneath their watch to begin with.
He says their watch, so they were together.
That's why Chris doesn't want my son around his daughter. Because
he says it here, their watch. He didn't say Katie, he says their watch. So that means Katie and Chris were together in California at some point, I guess, before coming to Hendersonville, Tennessee. Trying to get an understanding of all these people and where they were. And then now he's called at some point years back to tell his mother, Seth's mother, oh, your grandson's a pedophile. All because they told him this information. Well, they had to be the ones to tell him about the child molestation. How did they find out? Will somebody please help me understand? How did everybody find out that the boy was touched? Did the boy come back to Katie to say, he's touching me? Or did somebody find out the boy was touching other children? So now you got to ask that question. Did the boy touch other children? How did they know he was violated, Sebastian Rogers? This part of the conversation is left out. Jesus wept.
Scared that my son is going to do the same thing that was done to him under his
God's
watch. And Chris Proudfoot, if you're listening to this, you can't hold that over my head. I told you. You're going to piss me the fuck off, and I don't give a fuck who knows.
Okay.
It's your fault.
Okay.
It's your and your wife's fault.
Okay.
You guys don't deserve to be around kids.
I'm going to stop it right there so I can end this live straight. Wow. Did you hear that? That was Mr. Seth speaking on a podcast about Allegations of him abusing his own child physically. Investigated by CPS. Case closed. Divorced his wife. Judge told him to work it out, make a parenting plan. Somehow these two were in California together, Katie and Chris. However, I'm assuming they met because I didn't even know she was in the military. See, I'm learning all this now. And she might be a little empty inside because we've seen that with a lot of people that have been in the military. They're devoid of emotion. Don't know if they went in devoid or got devoid while serving. But this is a fine, fine mess. And although this is the past, but it's still a mess. Because it's information we did not have at the beginning of the story when the child went missing. This is why sometimes it's best to be transparent. See, a lot of people don't want to talk about things in their lives when their children go missing, wives, husband go missing, because they know how it's going to look. It might look bad on them. So that's why I had you take the polls. Do you believe this man abused his child when they were in California? Do you believe he abused his child before he went missing? Sebastian. He's the only one rallying for the child, talking about the child, speaking positively about the child. You finally hear him tell you more about this child in this podcast. Proudfoots have moved on, which is a red flag to me. Interviews, changing up versions, red flags. Her looking at Chris every time she speaks a word, needing confirmation, red flag. Now you hear allegations of child molestation. How did they find out? Has this boy gotten treatment for what has happened to him? You hear about him being on medicines. The father trying to remember all the medicines he was on. Are they medicines that he actually needs? Find out, wasn't taking medicine for the autism, but for, I can't remember what he said. I don't know if it was for anxieties or something else, insomnia or something. So that's another thing. Did the child sleep well? Well, we learn when you don't get adequate sleep if you're not going to bed at a decent time. So what time was he actually going to bed? He says he always had him on a routine. So what time did he go to bed at Seth's house? Even on the weekends, if he had him on the weekends, what time did he put him to bed? Did he still put him to bed early or he let him stay up? See, you got to ask all those questions. And you don't know if you're going to get the truth or not. Was the child physically and verbally abused in the household with the Proudfoots? Did they physically abuse him, whip him with a belt, whip him with their hand, open hand, slap him, ridicule him, talk down to him? Allegations they didn't want to take pictures because of how he looks. Somebody put that out. Don't know if that's the truth or not. This is deviant, everything you're hearing right now. Mood disorder. I know it was something. Couldn't remember something. Okay. So the point is, was the child moody? Hard to deal with, hard to manage. She says he wasn't physically aggressive, but he would growl when he got upset. But will we find out it was more to his disposition than just growling? That he did lash out, stomp, hit the walls. I don't know. But one thing is for sure, all children aren't the same, and all autistic children aren't the same. They all don't navigate the same. You Google search about them wandering, you will see that in the Google search. But that does not mean every autistic child wandered. Does not mean every autistic child liked water. You're only going to know the truth about him if you can get the truth from these people here. And the parents have, poof, voila, taken off. Chris didn't want the boy child around his daughter. But as you hear in this commentary from this guy who's speaking, he never wanted Faith. She was used as a pawn, and I believe Sebastian was used as a pawn in this game between Katie and Seth. So don't you see, everything is a repeat. You leave one volatile situation to then go over here to Front Street and meet this guy named Chris, and then he's got the same baggage that you just came from that you were accusing this man of doing. So you've left nothing. Stay woke. You're accusing this man of abusing your kid, and then you go over here and meet this guy, and he's got the same alleged qualities that you're accusing your ex-husband Seth of. If they're true, I don't know. It's just a repeat. So you're entitled to believe what you want pertaining to all these people. And as they say in life, when we call ourselves running and moving and place to place and dating this person and marrying this person, you're usually just picking the same kind of people. But they're a little taller, a little shorter, a little fatter. See where I'm going? But I'm not here to say Seth is like Chris and Chris is like Seth because I don't know none of them. But I got a bad vibe. I'm getting a bad vibe about the Proudfoots. Now, is this man volatile? And we don't know it, Seth. I don't know. But as you hear this guy saying, he doesn't get that feeling from him, but that's his perception. But the point is, you can't really tell people just from sitting over the phone and video chatting with them. You got to be in their element. You got to be with them when they're at home, when they're driving, when they're going places, when they're upset, when they're sad. That's how you get to know a person to form an opinion. Because meeting a person a few times over the phone, video chatting, that's not knowing a person. To know a person, you got to be in their element. They got to be in your element. And the best way to find out about a person is when some shit jumps off. That's when you learn the real person, how they really feel. But so far, he's the only one rallying for the child, which is sickening. He also talks about his parents, one passed on, how the child, was attached to the parents, his parents, got along with them. Because I did ask that question, where are Seth's parents? Where are Katie's parents? Where is everybody? Why is no one rallying for this kid? I do believe there's more to the story, and I've said that before in my live stream pertaining to this case. There's more, because you're only getting crumbs. And now he's decided to go to the podcaster and go full throttle, but he didn't do this with Vinnie Politan. Why not? And the news and other people are going to get wind of this, and they're going to repeat all this, and it ain't going to be good. Because then the national program is going to get a hold of it, and then that means people all around the world are going to hear it. And then you're entitled to your opinion of what you believe. I think it's time for Seth to realize possibly the child's not alive. Because when you say he's moved around or this, that, and the other, you're going to hear him say that in this interview. Feel free to check it out. It's in the YouTube queue. Who will be moving the child around, sir? For what reason? Who will be moving him around alive for what reason? Who are you accusing of moving him around? The Proudfoots? I don't think so. Move him around for what reason? They don't seem to be in tune with him to care because they've already moved on. So that makes me believe you wouldn't have wanted him in life, living. Stay woke. So now he's out of sight, which will lead us to believe he's possibly deceased. So I'm going to be moving him around alive for what when I didn't want him? And as they say, you don't look for something that you got lost in the first place. And I think it's time for Seth to start realizing he's not alive. He's entitled to think what he wants because he's the father. He's a grown man. But I don't think your child's alive, sir. And I think now that you're telling all these things about they're not good parents, she wasn't in tune to raising a child, she was wanting to really just medicate the child so she didn't have to deal with him. This is probably, that was the catalyst of what's going on now with your child missing because she had checked out a long time ago. She just rode that donkey ride with your kid because she didn't want people to know she was done with raising him. And that's just something most people are not wanting to admit to the public. Hey, I'm tired of being a mother. Hey, I'm tired of being a father. Hey, I'm tired of being in this marriage. It's all the same thing. But you don't go unalive a person because you're tired of being with your husband, your wife, you had a fight. You don't go kill him. So you're entitled to believe what you want about this story, where the child is, who got him gone, moving him around. This is what this man is saying to himself, said it out loud. But does he really believe that? The child is being moved around. And where would he be moved around? By whom and for what? And how many people you think is involved? Now, I'm going to tell you the truth. I believe the Proudfoots know damn well where the child is. And I won't doubt that they got other people helping them cover it up. Because they did it with Nina, they would do it for Sebastian. Why not? What's the difference? There is none. I believe this is a dirty, dirty game. And the fact that you also hear him say in this live stream about Fliers missing, put them up, they go back, they're gone. Why are you all messing with the Fliers? Please explain it to the queen. What are you gaining by doing this? But what did I say in the last few lives? They've been watching. They've been watching the people search. They've been watching the police. They've been watching the TBI. They've been watching the CIA. They've been watching everybody involved. They probably got people riding around following these people, seeing where they're going, where they're searching. And if you all are the same low-down motherfuckers taking them Flyers, you will eventually be seen doing that. Why? You don't want the kid either. So what do you care about the Flyers going up? Please help the queen understand. Mr. Proudfoot, Mrs. Proudfoot, Do you have people going out here taking the flyers down, your family members, their cohorts? And what did I tell you all about that? If they did it for faith meddling, they would do it in this case, and they also have people who would rally behind them and help them. I told you you don't know nothing about these dirty hillbillies. Because see, nobody's really paying attention to the story. You're seeing what you want to see, and you're hearing what you want to hear. But you better pay close attention. Because some of you might get wrapped up in some drama fooling with this search. This is some dirty shit going on down in West Tennessee. See, we ain't talking about New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia. We're talking about the mob. The old mob. We're talking about some ratchet-ass hillbillies that are willing to go to the ends of the earth for a Mr. Proudfoot. You better pay attention. Because I smell smoke. Oh, yeah, that's a smoke in the city. This man is tainted. Katie's tainted. They're all riding that donkey ride. And he's got relatives willing to ride the donkey ride with him. But this man is letting you know, Mr. Seth, he ain't afraid of nobody, and he's going all out, and he's going to keep searching. He's going to keep putting up flyers. Exactly. That's what you're supposed to do. Because the only time a person or persons want to hinder investigation are people who are involved in a crime or aiding somebody that has committed a crime. Checkmate. So if you're taking down flyers, you're letting me know and the public know that you know something pertaining to Sebastian Rogers, and that ain't good. But it's expected. Because you see, a lot of people don't really know how dirty people are out here. Now you do. He's got foot soldiers. Just like you got people searching for Sebastian for the right reasons and wrong reasons. You got those out there watching and orchestrating for the wrong reasons. And this is why you need to be careful. Because like I said, if Sebastian can get gone, so can you. And I won't doubt his little entourage wouldn't have no problem with a little bullying and a little intimidation. Do you see where I'm going? And fast forward over to Kansas, Oklahoma, where 2 white women are missing. And there's a lot coming out about that situation. It's looking like foul play. And possibly it has something to do with custody of a child, children. And somebody possibly wanted these women to, poof, voila, disappear. So that means there's more than one person possibly involved. Stay woke. Because you don't know people. And the fact that the town people are quiet, relatives don't want to talk, police telling them not to talk. Oh, yes, it's some shit over there too. And those are grown people missing. See, people are fearful of retaliation, especially if they know something. And they don't want to go on camera saying it because they don't want to end up like those 2 women. And that's what people need to understand. You can get gone just from talking about something, giving your opinion. Because the Proudfoots got some bullshit going on, and they've got an entourage. But this is what I want to say to the entourage, whoever you are. You might want to be careful too, because you see, you can go out here and use other people to try to do dirty work for Mr. Proudfoot if you want to, but you should know karma's a bitch and it will come back on you. And then you'll be standing in front of a judge trying to explain why you out here doing dirty deeds for Mr. Proudfoot. For what reason? Because obviously you know something. And won't that be a shame? There are other people that know about where Sebastian Rogers is and that he ain't coming back. It's terrible. Did Seth physically abuse Sebastian and Callie? 20% said yes, 37% no, and 43% not sure. Was the boy child afraid of Chris? 84% of you said yes. 10% no. I believe that's about 5% not sure. Wow, wow, wow. Let's ask about the mother, and then I'm going to check out of here. Did the mother abuse child? And that'll be my last question for the night. Will the Proudfoots respond to what Seth has said on this podcast? Will she admit to the truth about Seth abusing the boy child, that it was not the truth, she lied? Or will she ride that donkey ride out into the abyss? And will they respond to what he has said to Mr. Chris? He don't give a fuck. He wants to know where his child is, and he also believes you all should not be around children. How about that? Will they respond? Whose program are they going to go on next? The Proudfoots, because they're awfully quiet. Did mom abuse child? Take the poll, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Almost 3 hours in. Thank you so much for your time. We'll be bringing you an update eventually pertaining to Puff Daddy. His children have hired attorneys to represent them because allegations have been made against them. Also, allegations have been made against other entities such as Universal, the Universal Music Group, and we will see what happens with that. And also, Ashton Kutcher has gotten a subpoena. Will he tell the truth? Allegedly, they're saying he knows things that he cannot tell. Don't know if he actually said that, but we'll talk about that at a later date. That's the latest I've gotten pertaining to this, to my updates. And also, hours ago, they were still trying to pick a jury for Chad Daybell. And the Drew Peterson case, the sister of the wife, who's still missing, has talked to News Nation and said that she believes she found her sister years ago in a canal, and she showed footage of under the water of what looks like to be remains of a body. Do you believe that is the remains of her sister or someone? And why didn't the FBI thoroughly investigate who was under that damn water and if it is actually a human being or her sister? Trying to keep you up on all the latest. And I still got a case out of Kentucky I need to update you all on. A woman who went missing. And the husband was, I believe, arrested last year. He and a co-conspirator. The Bardstown murder. Did mom abuse child? So far, I've got 90% yes, 0% no, and 10% not sure. This is a wicked case. Will Seth finally go to the news and repeat what he just told this TikToker in Court TV about his relationship with Katie and Chris, his thoughts on them not being good parents, if he believes they are involved in the disappearance of his child? He denies any physical abuse against his child when they were living in California. What's the truth to that? Case dismissed by CPS, closed. No allegations against him. Was she messing around with Chris while he was married to Nina? Is Chris the reason why she wanted a divorce from Seth? Stay woke. Because allegedly that was the catalyst for the divorce. She claimed he was abusing Sebastian, allegedly. But is that true? Is it that the marriage just stopped working at some point and she went out seeking her another man? And how did they meet? Because he met Nina on a dating app. How did he meet Katie? I'm very curious. And I won't doubt that he's still been messing around. But it'd be a little hard to do that now with her right there with him down there in that camper. And how long is that going to last? And also, the two dogs that are in the picture with Sebastian while he's sitting in the automobile, where are those dogs? Did they also take those dogs? A lot to chop up. 89% believe she abused the children. 10% not sure. 0% no. I want to thank you all so much for your time joining the Queen. Chop this live stream up to your discretion and time. Prayers to Mr. Seth and his family that they get answers to the truth about the boy child. He has every right to have hope because that's his son. But my opinion, I don't think that the child is alive because you have to use discretion once you start knocking the pins down to available theories. Who knew the child, where the child went, what he was involved in, neighbors, activities, friends. Once you narrow down that he didn't do anything, he didn't go anywhere, nobody visited him, then that leaves just the parents. His father, mother, and Mr. Chris. You chop it up into 3 compartments because they are the final 3. And if one could be verified at work, which would be Seth, naturally, he wouldn't need to take a polygraph because he's seen on camera at his job for hours. So then that leaves Katie and Chris. And if Chris doesn't have any verification, he's off on that weekend, didn't go into a work, not seen working, you can't verify where he was. And you can't verify where Katie was after leaving Texas Roadhouse. Stay woke. And that's the gist of the story, is verification. And the one thing he said in this podcast that I thought was interesting, I believe the creator said, they would know where the cameras are in the neighborhood. He or Seth said that. They would know where the cameras are in the neighborhood. This pitch black street. You work for a security system company, but you don't have security yourself. And I think she didn't want to answer that when somebody asked her that recently. Why would you not have security and you have an autistic child? You work for a security company, but you wouldn't think to get a security system by that same company? That's strange to me. Of course, you're entitled to get theirs or not. But most would think you would because you work for them. Did they case the place out? The Proudfoods. Did they case everybody's house to see who had doorbell cameras and security cameras? Number 1. Did they ever walk in their backyards to see who had cameras? Did they bank on having all the lights out to perfect the perfect crime? Some of you are questioning TBI's role and the sheriff's department's role in solving this crime, but you got to remember, if it was planned and premeditated, then they assumed they dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. If you believe that the scent didn't go anywhere outside of the house by a dog, then you use discretion. The child didn't walk out. He was carried out, possibly by a car sitting in the garage where she allegedly parks her vehicle, the mother. So there's always an answer to the question. It's just a matter of who you're going to get it from and if they're going to tell you the truth. When I get more commentary, I will bring it to you. More updates, rather, I'll bring you an update with commentary. You're very welcome, Danielle. Thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you for all my new subs and putting the Queen over 14,000 plus subscribers. God bless all of you. I will be back with more continued conversations. Still more wrangling with the strain case. Parents are not believing what has been said to them by the autopsies performed. What will the toxicology report reveal? Did this man go in the water without pants on, belt, boots, or the current took his clothes off? What's the truth? And will these people be able to ever accept the truth or the evidentiary material from the autopsies? We will see. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAngie129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Thank you for letting the Queen entertain you in the boudoir. I appreciate it so much. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. Mind the children. Every day there's a new case of a child missing, adult missing. And I noticed that last night watching documentaries and looking at things in the YouTube queue. And it just amazes me that this YouTube queue can be just filled with endless stories of missing people, missing children, abused adults. And you're just telling yourself, dear God, what kind of world are we living in? It's pathetic. It's not sad. It's pathetic. And it just goes to show you, you don't know people. This is why you're not supposed to idolize man or woman and put them on pedestals. Because you don't know them. And everybody is flawed. It may not be to the degree of the heinousness you see in these true crime stories, but everyone is flawed. Everybody. And this is just another tragic tale of possibly an abused child who was living in a house where he was not loved, not revered, and the people finally decided to get rid of him once and for all. You all have a wonderful week. Check my community board for my movies. I have 3 movie suggestions on my community page. Please check them out. And I will talk to you guys later. You've been listening to the Mount Excel. Thank you.